Chapter 24:19. When Luo Qingtong was pulled out of the crowd by the people of the Red Flame mercenary group, the sky was already dark. The people of the mercenary city refused to disperse. They couldn't wait for Luo Qingtong to speak more. However, it was already very late at night. Guifeng glanced at them coldly and directly asked Hu Zhan and the others to bring Luo Qingtong out. The people of the mercenary group didn't dare to block them for fear of hurting Luo Qingtong. In the end, they could only leave resentfully. After Hu Zhan and the others brought Luo Qingtong out, their clothes were almost torn apart by the group of mercenaries. Damn, who touched my butt just now? His uncle. If I find out, I'll beat him to death. Hu Zhan felt disgusted. Was it easy for him to rescue this little guy from the abyss of suffering? Hearing his words, the people of the Red Flame mercenary group burst into laughter in an instant. Huh, brother Hu, someone dares to touch your butt? It doesn't matter, you can find the person tomorrow and touch it back. We support you. That's right. Doesn't that person know that a tiger's butt can't be touched? If he touches it once, he must pay back at least 100 times. The group of people ridiculed Hu Zhan. They were convulsing with laughter and were overjoyed. Hearing these words, Hu Zhan's face turned green. You little bastards. As he spoke, he rolled up his sleeves and chased after the group of people. The latter and the others quickly ran away. As he ran, he shouted desperately, "Help! Someone wants to kill us to silence us. Hey, brother Hu, let's talk nicely. We didn't touch your butt." The group of people laughed together. When Luo Qingtong, Guifeng and the others saw this scene, they also laughed. Especially Luo Qingtong. After being separated from Su Yu and the others, she hadn't enjoyed this kind of pure joy for a long time. The Red Flame mercenary group in front of her gave her the same feeling as when she was with Su Yu and the others. Seeing her happy smile, Guifeng rubbed her head and said in a low voice, "Thank you for today, little seven." He sincerely thanked Luo Qingtong. No. Luo Qingtong waved her hand. I should be the one thanking you. If it weren't for you protecting me today, they would have eaten me alive. Luo Qingtong was very clear. In Mercenary City, whoever had the most power and influence would be the one in the right. Don't look at how the mercenaries seemed to support her. That was because she had the backing of the Red Flame mercenary group. Guifeng and the others seemed to be doing nothing, but they were standing behind her. This meant that if those people wanted to make a move on her, they would have to go through them first. Now, those high-ranked mercenary groups were at a disadvantage. Plus, she didn't hide anything and was willing to tell them about the identification of those mission items. Those people only stopped thinking about it after they got the benefits. Otherwise, how could those people be so easily dismissed? These mercenaries were all rogue cultivators who came and went from water to fire. Without any schemes, they wouldn't even know where they died on the way to snatch resources. Luo Qingtong also grew up like this. Naturally, she knew where these people's weaknesses were and how to deal with them. But the most important thing was that she had the backing of the Red Flame mercenary group. Otherwise, she could only reveal her true ability and strength. That would be even more troublesome. Chapter 24:20. Hearing her words, Guifeng couldn't help but chuckle. He realized that the young man seemed to be very good with words, and he was neither arrogant nor impatient. Although his ability was extraordinary, he didn't have any arrogance at all. Sometimes, he was even a little too modest and shy. Guifeng originally thought that taking care of children would be more troublesome, but seeing such an obedient and sensible Luo Qingtong, he liked her even more. Alright, let's not be modest. Just treat it as us helping each other, no need to thank each other. As he spoke, there was an obvious smile in his eyes. Let's go, and you guys, stop fooling around. He said to Hu Zhan and the others. Humph, big brother, they bullied me, and you didn't do anything about it. Hu Zhan's face was full of resentment. He hadn't gotten back at them yet, and his boss was being too biased. As he spoke, Guifeng glanced at him with an indifferent expression. Do you want to stay here and fight to your heart's content? He said with an indifferent expression. Ingyu, stay with him. No. There's no need. Boss, Captain, please spare me. Hu Zhan's face was bitter as he hurriedly begged for mercy. The sky was already dark. Who would dare to provoke that crazy woman Ouyang Ingyu? He wouldn't do it even if he was beaten to death. Guifeng looked at him and snorted, then led the group back to the encampment. Luo Qingtong was sandwiched in the middle, and there was a lot of noise. Everyone was very curious about how she could see through the details of those mission items at a glance. They weren't shocked enough when they saw her identify the purple-blooded realgar grass for them at the mercenary club. This time, Luo Qingtong identified a series of items. Only then did everyone realize how powerful her ability was. How did the young man see those almost unnoticeable details? Luo Qingtong naturally wouldn't tell them the secret of her blood eyes. She only said that it was a kind of intuition. She didn't know why, but when she saw the description of the mission and then looked at the mission items, she knew that there should be something different. When she said that, no one felt that there was anything wrong. After all, there were thousands of strange things in this world. It was normal for Luo Qingtong's intuition to be different from others. It could only be said that she was a person blessed by the heavens. When Luo Qingtong heard their words, she suddenly burst into laughter. This was actually not wrong. Regardless of whether it was blood eyes or transmigration, neither of them seemed to be something that ordinary people could possess. It wasn't wrong to say that she was blessed by the heavens. But for the man she loved, she had to stand on the opposite side of the heavens. Luo Qingtong's eyes narrowed as she thought about it. After being away for so long, she missed Yi Qianxian very much. There were also Su Yu and Su Xiaoxiao. According to the current situation, she would be able to earn enough money in 2 days. However, in order to appease the people of Mercenary City, she had to stay for a few more days before leaving. By then, she would not be so popular anymore, and it would be logical for her to leave. Luo Qingtong thought so and relaxed a little. Soon, she would be able to return to True Spill Continent. For the next few days, Luo Qingtong was escorted out by the Red Flame mercenary group in the morning, and was picked up by them in the evening. In order to reduce the popularity of her side, Luo Qingtong deliberately talked about some of the more common mission items. Chapter 24-21. As a result, the mercenaries naturally couldn't wait to try out the methods they got. When a portion of them returned successfully, more people would try it out. Slowly, the number of people listening to Luo Qingtong's lecture decreased. Of course, even so, the Black Iron mercenary group didn't dare to find trouble with Luo Qingtong. Because they were already being watched by the people of Mercenary City. As long as something happened to Luo Qingtong, they would look for them. What's more, because of the methods taught by Luo Qingtong, the efficiency of the Mercenary City's mercenaries was amazing. The Black Iron mercenary group's people were in charge of the Mercenary Association. They were already as busy as a spinning top. They simply couldn't find the time to deal with Luo Qingtong, okay? Today, after Luo Qingtong appraised the last business as usual, she was picked up by the Red Flame mercenary group's people. Because of the stability in Mercenary City, Guifeng and the others didn't come out to pick her up. After all, the Red Flame mercenary group's people also needed to accept missions in exchange for resources. Of course, with Luo Qingtong there, they never failed a mission. The youth only needed to look at the description of the mission they wanted to accept, and he could think of countless ways for them to complete the mission. Every one of them was extremely efficient and valiant. Every mission's completion rate was the highest. Their harvest was also the most. The Red Flame mercenary group's people looked at Luo Qingtong with shining eyes. And Ouyang Ingyu often hugged Luo Qingtong's head, pressed her face against her chest, and happily called her little 7 baby. Luo Qingtong was embarrassed by her mushy and seductive way of addressing her. Every time, she had to struggle for a long time before she could struggle out of Ouyang Inyu's 36D big weapon. It was a critical hit. Every time Luo Qingtong struggled out of Ouyang Inyu's weapon, she would silently look at her flat chest and silently say 100 times, "This is fake, this is fake." I actually have breasts. B and D are just one more circle. The small illusory shaping pill that Luo Qingtong had taken was very powerful. As long as she didn't have enough strength to remove the effects of the pill, each time she took it, it would last for at least half a month. After all, it was improved by a spirit pill like the illusory form pill. Although it was a shrunken version, it was still not comparable to the effects of ordinary medicinal pills. After Luo Qingtong packed up her things, she greeted the mercenaries who were listening to her explanation in the plaza and left with the person from the Red Flame mercenary group who came to pick her up. The two of them left the square and walked towards the Red Flame mercenary group's encampment. As soon as they entered a small alley, Luo Qingtong's eyes suddenly sharpened. She quickly raised her head and looked at a certain place in the alley. There was a messy pile of things placed there. It was messy and very messy. There was also a lot of trash among them. The direction of the alley was extremely dark. In this evening, there was a deep and dark aura. Brother Xiao Yu. Luo Qingtong calmly said to the person from the Red Flame mercenary group who came to pick her up, let's go to another place today. There is a smell here. I don't feel comfortable smelling it. Luo Qingtong and the people from the Red Flame mercenary group who came to pick her up basically walked through this alley, because this road was the closest to their encampment. However, since Luo Qingtong said that the smell here was a bit uncomfortable, the person from the Red Flame mercenary group didn't insist. Okay, let's go to another place. As he spoke, he led her to another path. Chapter 24-22. With a bang, a black figure rushed towards them. Save me. The black figure was trembling badly. He was wearing a robe as thin as a cicada's wing. His entire body was exposed in front of Luo Qingtong and the man from the Red Flame mercenary group. Hey, little seven, don't look. The man from the Red Flame mercenary group immediately covered Luo Qingtong's eyes. What a joke, how could he not cover it? The robe was so thin that the 3 points of the other party's body were exposed in front of Luo Qingtong. This little seven was still a child. Who are you? Why are you dressed so indecently? The man from the Red Flame mercenary group was in a bad mood. After getting along with each other for a period of time, the group of people from the Red Flame mercenary group saw Luo Qingtong, who looked like a 13 or 14-year-old, as their little brother. They protected her under their wings. Under such circumstances, they certainly didn't want Luo Qingtong to see such a scene. Wasn't this bringing back a child? This guy wasn't a pervert, right? Or did he have other plans? Thinking of this, the expression of the man from the Red Flame mercenary group changed. He looked at the person who suddenly appeared with vigilance. He didn't forget that in this mercenary city, many people had designs on Luo Qingtong. Of course, that was in the past. But that didn't mean that there weren't any now. Thinking of this, he suddenly shouted at the figure who appeared, if there's nothing else, get lost. We can't help you with anything. It was a woman. At this moment, she was crying and running towards Luo Qingtong and Qing Xiaoya. The latter's expression was very ugly. While covering Luo Qingtong's eyes, he took her to the side. After all, the woman's breasts were shaking violently, and the triangular area below was naked. If it was in the past, in the brothel, Qing Xiaoya would enjoy the feeling of such a beautiful woman throwing herself at him. But now that he had Luo Qingtong by his side, he hated that he couldn't lift his foot and kick the other party out. Young master, please save me. We were abducted by a sect disciple to be his cultivation furnace. We spent a lot of effort to escape. Save me. The woman cried and kept running towards Qing Xiaoya and Luo Qingtong. The latter kept retreating with Luo Qingtong. At this moment, a series of voices rang out from the entrance of the alley not far away. Search all. Don't let a single one of those who escaped escape. As these voices rang out, the woman's cries stopped. She saw that Luo Qingtong and Qing Xiaoya had no intention of saving her. She glared at them and screamed, an ugly monster, a coward. If it's not, who needs your help? Bah! She spat at Luo Qingtong and Qing Xiaoya, then turned and ran in another direction. It was obvious that she didn't dare to stay any longer and was going to find someone else to take her in. Seeing her actions, Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows. She saw that the woman's expression and behavior were not right. She was frivolous and cheap, completely different from what she said about being abducted to be a cultivation furnace. That was why she deliberately ignored her. She didn't expect that the other party would not only fail to ask for help, but also scold her and Qing Xiaoya before leaving. Luo Qingtong's lips curled up slightly. Chapter 24-23. Aya, miss, don't go. Luo Qingtong shouted at this moment. She deliberately looked in the direction of those voices and said, "Don't worry, I will get justice for you. Those people treated you as human cauldrons. It's too abominable." Her voice rang out, and in an instant, the people who had been searching around the alleyway rushed over. Ah! When the woman saw that Luo Qingtong had led those people over, she screamed and ran out crazily. However, no matter how fast she ran, how could she outrun those people who were here to catch them? After a while, she was caught. Slap! A man who seemed to be the leader slapped her hard on the face. "Bitch, it's your fortune to be sent to serve Elder Zhang. How dare you run?" As he spoke, he glared coldly at the woman and said, "Speak. Where's young master's new favorite? Where did you take him?" I don't know." After the woman was caught, she went limp. Her body was trembling, and she wanted to use her body to seduce those people who came to catch her. However, these people were already used to her behavior and ignored her. The leader of the group broke her hand. "Speak," he shouted coldly. I really don't know." The woman couldn't bear it and broke down crying. The man kept interrogating and broke her limbs. When he realized that he couldn't get anything out of her, he gritted his teeth and asked people to carry her back. Before leaving, he looked coldly at Luo Qingtong and Qing Xiaoya. "Shut your mouths for things you shouldn't ask and things you shouldn't care about. Otherwise, I'll teach you a lesson." As he spoke, he glanced at the symbol of the Red Flame mercenary group embroidered on Qing Xiaoya's clothes and left with the crowd. Looking at their backs, Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes. There were other sounds in the alley. It was the sound of those people searching around. After an unknown amount of time, those people seemed to have not found anything. In the end, they could only leave while cursing. "TSK, where did this disciple come from? I'm speechless." Qing Xiaoya didn't remove his hand from Luo Qingtong's eyes until those people left. Because he didn't know how long those people would search here, in order to avoid a conflict with them and injure Luo Qingtong, he simply stayed here. Seeing that these people had obviously left, he then prepared to leave with Luo Qingtong. "Let's go, little seven, I didn't scare you, did I?" he asked with concern. "No." Luo Qingtong shook her head. "Well, don't blame Brother Xiao Yu for restraining you just now. You silly boy, that woman just now is not simple. You haven't seen any woman before and you still want to save her. I had no choice, Brother Xiao Yu, I had to stop you." It turned out that after Luo Qingtong screamed, she attracted those people. Qing Xiaoya was afraid that Luo Qingtong would really get into a conflict with those people because of that woman and get hurt, so he deliberately restrained her so that she couldn't speak again. Luo Qingtong's lips twitched slightly. She couldn't tell Qing Xiaoya that she deliberately called those people over. Forget it, let her be a pure and harmless little white rabbit. Chapter 24-24. Translations. Luo Qingtong said seriously. Then she seemed to have thought of something and glanced at the alley they were going to take. In the end, she didn't say anything and went back with Qin Xiaoya. In the next few days, those people were constantly searching for something in Mercenary City, causing the entire city to be in a state of panic. Luo Qingtong saw this and didn't say anything. On the fourth day, those people finally gave up and left as if they had something urgent to attend to. After they left, Luo Qingtong and a member of the Red Flame mercenary group who came to pick her up went back through the nearest alley. Just as she walked to the entrance of the alley, a swaying figure rushed towards her from the messy intersection not far ahead. "Save me." After he finished speaking, he fainted in front of Luo Qingtong. Ah! The person who was in charge of picking up Luo Qingtong wanted to push him away, but he suddenly fell down. The person from the Red Flame mercenary group was also dumbfounded. Most importantly, he forgot to cover Luo Qingtong's eyes. Damn, Luo Qingtong's lips twitched. Looking at the naked man in front of her who was wearing a transparent silk robe like the woman from before, she really didn't know what to say. It stung her eyes. Luo Qingtong knew that there was a person hiding here. It was very likely that he was the beloved pet of the young master that those people were looking for. But she didn't expect that the other party was wearing the same stinging clothes as the woman from before. What kind of weird hobby did that young master have? Luo Qingtong's lips twitched. She looked at a member of the Red Flame mercenary group beside her. "Brother Zhu Li, why didn't you stop him? At least stand in front of her and block her." Cough. That member of the Red Flame mercenary group named Zhu Li coughed lightly and immediately said, "It's okay. He's a man. He's not afraid to look." What he meant was that Luo Qingtong was also a man. It didn't matter if a man looked at a man. Luo Qingtong was speechless. How was she going to tell him that she was actually a woman? Forget it, she would just treat it as if she was blinded by shit. Luo Qingtong asked Zhu Li to help him up and bring him back. She couldn't help it. She couldn't help it, right? As for leaving him alone, Luo Qingtong wanted to. However, this person was lying dead in front of her. Not only that, but he was also clutching her clothes tightly. What could Luo Qingtong do? She couldn't just kick him away. That would ruin her current image as Luo Shaoqi. Luo Qingtong asked Zhu Li to take off his outer robe and wrap it around him before bringing him back to the base of the Red Flame mercenary group. 7. What's wrong? Gui Feng and the others were shocked when they saw that they brought a man back. Especially Gui Feng. He rushed to Luo Qingtong's side and looked her up and down. After finding that she was fine, he looked at Zhu Li with a serious face and asked, "What's going on?" "I don't know." Zhu Li scratched his head and said honestly, "This person suddenly rushed out from the side and asked us to save him. He should be the beloved pet of the young master from the sect who caused a commotion. The incident a few days ago was very big. The entire mercenary city was in a mess. Everyone in the Red Flame mercenary group knew about it." Hearing this, Gui Feng frowned and looked at that person. Chapter 24-25. Let him into the house first. Helplessness appeared on his face. If this person was brought back by someone else, he definitely wouldn't have taken him in. But Luo Qingtong, this little girl, was kind-hearted. She even interceded for the girl who scolded her. If Qing Xiaoye hadn't restrained her, she might have gotten into a conflict with those people from the sections. Who knew how much she would have suffered by then? Under such circumstances, he naturally couldn't kick out the person she saved. Otherwise, this little girl would be very sad. With that in mind, Gui Feng had no choice but to take her in. Luo Qingtong didn't know what Gui Feng was thinking. She was tangled up with the person Zhu Li was carrying on his back. He clutched her sleeve and wouldn't let go. Would he ask her to take care of this person later? Luo Qingtong frowned. She tried to pull her sleeve back several times, but to no avail. She couldn't let Zhu Li and the others see that something was wrong. Luo Qingtong could only give up. She followed Zhu Li into the room. The latter put the person on the bed and said to her, "Little Seven, take care of him first. I have something to do with the leader. I'll come find you later." As he spoke, he walked out directly, leaving Luo Qingtong alone. Her lips twitched as she looked at the person lying on the couch. Fortunately, Zhu Li didn't take away the clothes wrapped around the person when he left. Otherwise, Luo Qingtong would definitely turn around and leave. As for this person, what did his life have to do with her? It was already good enough that she could bring him back here and let the people of the Red Flame mercenary group take him in. Luo Qingtong frowned and wiped the person's face. At this moment, the person slowly opened his eyes. You? His eyes were first filled with vigilance and fear. With a swoosh, he crawled up from the couch, hugging his outer robe as he cowered in a corner of the couch. You, who are you? He looked at Luo Qingtong with an unconcealable panic in his eyes. The glaze in her eyes flickered, making the whites of her eyes look like flowing clouds, beautiful and clear to the extreme. The dirt on his face had been wiped off by Luo Qingtong, revealing a face that was as cold and noble as a banished immortal. He looked high and mighty, unapproachable. However, the light in his eyes was too pure and clear, making him look as pure and moving as a child who didn't know anything about the world. Such a pair of eyes, coupled with his high and mighty face, gave off an inexplicable feeling of an immortal with broken wings and falling into the mortal world. Luo Qingtong looked at the other party's expression. She probably understood why those people from the sects had made such a big fuss in Mercenary City in order to find him. If it wasn't for those people suddenly leaving due to an urgent matter, they would have found this person sooner or later. However, the other party was smart and knew to stay in that place without moving. He didn't call for help, nor did he run away. Otherwise, she was afraid that he wouldn't be able to last until those people left. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. She didn't explain her identity to the other party. She only threw the handkerchief in her hand over and said to him, "Since you're already awake, wipe your face yourself. That's right, change your clothes. Don't wear the clothes you're wearing." Luo Qingtong's lips twitched as she looked at the other party crawling and cowering. The red robe wrapped around his body was about to fall off again. Faintly discernible jade-colored skin was revealed through the gaps of the robe, with two dark red spots sandwiched between. Chapter 24-26. With Luo Qingtong's words, the man was stunned for a moment. He looked down at his appearance at the moment, and his face suddenly blushed. "Thank you." He thanked her with difficulty and took the clothes that Luo Qingtong handed over. By now, he had somewhat recovered from his emotional state. Maybe it was because Luo Qingtong's attitude was too peaceful, or maybe it was because he had recognized that Luo Qingtong was the person he asked for help in his coma. His gaze towards Luo Qingtong was no longer filled with fear and panic. "Thank you for saving me, can you turn around first?" he said while biting his lips. His pair of clear, shallow glass-like eyes looked at Luo Qingtong helplessly and shyly. When the young man looked over, he couldn't help but lower his head again. That cold and noble face looked like a banished immortal. Because of his appearance at the moment, it inexplicably made people want to torture and ravage him. Innocence and seduction were intertwined. Although the other party was a man, Luo Qingtong still thought of the word stunner in her mind. No wonder those people kept searching for him. Fortunately, the other party had something to do and left. Otherwise, Luo Qingtong would never bring this big trouble to the Red Flame mercenary group. She brought trouble to the latter and others, and also brought trouble to herself. But even now, the other party couldn't stay here for long. After all, who knew if those people would come back and look for him again after finishing their business? Luo Qingtong and Zhu Li were very careful when they brought him back. The man's body was also covered by a robe, and his face was covered with dirt. His appearance couldn't be seen clearly. But it was better to be safe than sorry. Luo Qingtong wouldn't let the people of the Red Flame mercenary group get into trouble because of her. For her, she could just walk away. But what about the people of the Red Flame mercenary group? They took her in, and she couldn't harm them, right? If you have nothing else, leave here. She turned her back and allowed the man to change his clothes. Those people have already left this place. I'm sure you already know that. Otherwise, you wouldn't have run out to ask me for help at that time. But you also know that those people are looking for you very hard. I don't want to cause trouble for our mercenary group. I'll give you some money later. You can go now. Luo Qingtong had already earned a great deal of money. She had more than enough money to investigate the true Spill continent. She didn't mind giving the other party some money to send this trouble away. However, as soon as she finished speaking, a warm body suddenly pressed against her back, followed by the panicked voice of the man. Don't send me away. His voice was frantic and uneasy. He hugged Luo Qingtong from behind and sobbed, I have nowhere else to go. Please, can you take me in? The moment his body pressed against hers, Luo Qingtong subconsciously wanted to break his wrist and throw him out. But thinking of her role as Luo Qingtong abruptly restrained the impulse in her heart. She pretended to be frightened and broke free from the other party's shackles. She looked at him with vigilance and said, So what? I can't let our mercenary group get involved in danger for you, right? Chapter 24-27. Luo Qingtong stared at him as she said this. There was an undetectable coldness in the depths of her eyes. His appearance was too inexplicable. He fell in front of her and asked her to save him. There were so many people coming and going in the alley at that time. Why did he choose her? If it was because she was a teenager, it was easier for him to let his guard down. Then why was he pestering her to take him in? Luo Qingtong was just acting as the innocent and harmless Luo Xiaoqi. But in her bones, she was the cautious evil pupil. The supreme pupil master who had been chased by countless people in the 24th century. How could she not be prepared for the appearance of the other party? Hearing Luo Qingtong's words, the man was stunned. Then he bit his lips and said, It was that day, at the entrance of the alley. I heard what you said to Fuji. I only believe you. When he said this, Luo Qingtong instantly understood what was going on. Fuji. Luo Qingtong thought of the woman she met in the alley that day when she suddenly changed her route. Was he talking about her? Luo Qingtong thought carefully. Then her lips twitched. She remembered now. At that time, Fuji couldn't ask for help. She even scolded Luo Qingtong and Qing Xiaoya. In order to teach her a lesson, Luo Qingtong deliberately led those people over. So this man heard what she said deliberately and thought that she wanted to save that woman? Because of that, he took a liking to her? No wonder he didn't ask for help after those people left. Instead, he threw himself in front of her. Luo Qingtong looked at him with a headache. Meanwhile, the man had already changed his clothes. He was wearing the clothes that Luo Qingtong prepared. Although they were made of coarse linen, they couldn't hide his tall and elegant figure. If it weren't for the clear and pure light in his eyes. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that the man in front of him was a prodigy from one of those aristocratic families. But at this moment, he was looking at Luo Qingtong with a fearful and uneasy expression. Tears welled up in his eyes. Can you not chase me away? He begged Luo Qingtong helplessly. I can do a lot of things. If you want me to serve you, I can. As he spoke, he bit his lips hard. Sorrow flashed in his eyes as he raised his hand to pull Luo Qingtong's belt. Hey, wait. Luo Qingtong quickly held her belt. What a joke. She didn't have that hobby at all, okay? Moreover, even if she did, she didn't have that ability. Luo Qingtong's movements were extremely fast. Almost instantly, she held down the other's hand to prevent him from taking away her belt. Although her small illusory shaping pill had allowed her to grow an Adam's apple and flatten her chest, it was still not enough. But there was something below that absolutely wasn't there. Luo Qingtong didn't want to expose herself in the other's hands. And when Luo Qingtong held down the other's hand, her eyes suddenly flashed. Luo Qingtong detected that there was no cultivation in the other's body at all. Did she really think too much before? Did he just happen to ask her for help? Luo Qingtong's head hurt even more as she thought about it. If this was the case, she couldn't force him out. Besides, this was not in line with Luo Xiaoqi's character. Okay, you can stay here first. Seeing the other's eyes lit up in an instant, Luo Qingtong's lips twitched. What's your name? She asked. Yu Xian. Knowing that he could stay here, the man's heart seemed to be very happy. However, the expression on his face remained cold and indifferent. My name is Yu Xian. He looked at Luo Qingtong and said, Yu as in the middle of the sky. Xian as in the mystery of this life. When he said this, something seemed to flash in the depths of his eyes. Chapter 24-28. When he said this, something seemed to flash in the depths of his eyes. It looked unusually deep and gloomy. But this feeling disappeared in a flash. When he looked up at Luo Qingtong again, he had that innocent and shy look again. You can call me Ah Xian or Ah Yu. He looked at Luo Qingtong. Can I call you by your name? He asked Luo Qingtong carefully. He wanted to ask, but he was afraid that Luo Qingtong would refuse. Yes. Luo Qingtong was a little white rabbit, but now there was a little white rabbit who was even more white than her. She looked at the other party's expectant eyes and couldn't find the words to refuse. Anyway, he would know her name sooner or later. My name is Luo Xiaoqi. You can call me Xiaoqi, she said to the man. As for the other party asking her to call him Ah Xian or Ah Yu, she didn't say a word. She was not used to calling people she was not familiar with so intimately. Oh. The man seemed a little disappointed when he didn't hear Luo Qingtong call his name. But thinking that Luo Qingtong could let him stay, he quickly cheered up. Is there anything I can do for you? He looked at Luo Qingtong carefully as he spoke. Afraid that she would misunderstand, he quickly said, I'm talking about something in life, such as serving tea and water. His voice became lower and lower as he spoke. This was the only thing he could do. He wondered if the other party would despise him. The man's face showed such thoughts. Luo Qingtong couldn't pretend not to see it. Looking at his uneasy look, Luo Qingtong's lips twitched slightly, and she said, It's okay. I don't need it. But you can tell me what you can do. It could be seen that the man was very worried that she would drive him away again. But even if Luo Qingtong saw it, she wouldn't make any promises to him. To her, this person was neither a relative nor a friend of hers. Taking him in temporarily was already her greatest kindness. If it weren't for the fact that she was still Luo Qingtong's character, she wouldn't have bothered to talk to her at all. Luo Qingtong hated trouble the most when she was outside. However, in order to maintain Luo Xiaoqi's image, she had no choice but to let him stay. However, this did not mean that she would help him to the end. At this moment, even if she was Luo Xiaoqi, she was just a little naive. She was not a naive saint. She knew what was important. If Yu Xian was capable, he could stay in the Red Flame mercenary group with his own ability. But if he didn't, it would depend on what Guifeng and the others thought. Luo Qingtong wouldn't ask Guifeng and the others to make him stay. The other party wasn't worthy enough for her to do so. Upon hearing Luo Qingtong's words, Yu Xian looked slightly embarrassed. He lowered his head as an awkward expression flashed across his cold face. I only know how to serve people. His voice was extremely low. It was so low that Luo Qingtong couldn't hear it at all if she hadn't pricked up her ears. Luo Qingtong looked at him. Her mind was stuck for a moment. Wait. She looked at the embarrassed expression that flashed across the other party's fairy-like face. Then she thought of what Yu Xian said to her before about serving her, so, it wasn't the service she was thinking of, right? That? Chapter 24-29. In order to confirm her thoughts, Luo Qingtong couldn't help but ask. She hoped that she was wrong. Yeah, Yu Xian glanced at her and then lowered his head to tug at her belt. Hey. Wait. I got it. Luo Qingtong pressed her belt and hurriedly took a step back. No, several big steps. She retreated to the round table in the room and sat down, pouring herself a cup of tea to calm herself down. Damn, that was so shocking. Such a cold and fairy-like man turned out to be the words, beloved pet of a young master from a sect, flashed through her mind. Damn it, she didn't think too much about it before. Now that he thought about it, the word doting clearly had a meaning that couldn't be any dirtier. No wonder when she met this man, he was naked. She thought that the young master from a sect had some unique hobby of looking at naked people. It turned out that he did have a unique hobby, but he was gay. And he was gay. Luo Qingtong thought of the woman she met in the alley before. She must have run away with Yu Xian. There were several other people who ran away with them. However, those people were all captured. She was secretly taken back by some mercenaries who were lustful and secretly hid away. They were also taken away after being searched by those people. The only one who was spared was Yu Xian, who had been quietly staying in the alley without calling for help or running away. Thinking of this, Luo Qingtong's lips twitched even more. Well, I don't need your service. You don't need to serve anyone anymore. After all, you have left that place. Luo Qingtong said. Well, I'll leave first. Have a good rest. Luo Qingtong felt that she'd better leave here. Otherwise, she didn't know what other shocking words he would say. It wouldn't be good if he kept pestering her. As Luo Xiaoqi, she couldn't do anything casually. Thinking of this, Luo Qingtong hurriedly got up and left. Damn, this was the first time she was confessed to as a man. She couldn't handle it at all, okay? Luo Qingtong clutched her belt tightly. Yu Xian lowered his head in disappointment as he watched her leave. But under his lowered brows, a faint cold light flickered faintly. Luo Xiaoqi, Xiaoqi. The corners of Yu Mingxuan's lips curled slightly. He was very calm and composed. It seemed that the other party was also very good at disguising himself. Now, it was time to see who was stronger. That's right. Yu Mingxian was Yu Xian. He deliberately designed a play so that he could sneak to Luo Qingtong's side. In order to unearth a person's biggest secret, it was naturally best to become the person closest to her. Luo Qingtong's disguise as Luo Xiaoqi gave him a good opportunity to approach her. Otherwise, if the other party was still the mysterious Xiaoqi, even if he died in front of the other party, she wouldn't care, right? He just didn't know what she was investigating in Mercenary City. Yu Mingxian asked his subordinates to investigate for a long time, but they still couldn't find anything. Luo Qingtong didn't do anything in Mercenary City. It was as if she really had nothing to investigate. But if she had nothing to do, why would she come to Mercenary City for no reason? Yu Mingxian lowered his eyes slightly and tapped the couch in front of him with his fingertips. But he didn't think for too long. Chapter 24:30. Even the things that his foster father and the others had hidden from him, the things that they didn't want him to know, the things behind Shen Meng, he would clearly investigate them. If it was really related to the god's inscriptions, then he would definitely take it. No one would be able to stop him. Yu Mingxian's eyes were cold. But soon, the expression in his light-glazed eyes changed again. They became clear and ignorant. With an uneasy expression, Yu Mingxian, or Yu Xian, went to sleep. After Luo Qingtong left Yu Mingxian's room, she went to where Guifeng and the others were. She asked them about the sect young master in detail. But since Yu Mingxian had designed this play, he naturally made sure it was foolproof. That young master from the sect was real, and so were those slaves that escaped from him. But Yu Mingxian was a fake. The real sect young master's beloved pet had already died. The name Yu Xian was completely made up by Yu Mingxian. But who could ask the sect young master what his beloved pet was called? Therefore, the information that Luo Qingtong obtained from Guifeng was not wrong. The sect young master had indeed lost his beloved pet, and the other party was a frequent customer of Mercenary City. There was no problem with his identity. After Luo Qingtong inquired about these matters, she no longer doubted Yu Mingxian. How would she know that she had been tricked? Just as Luo Qingtong was searching for information about that young master from a sect, a few figures arrived at the entrance of Mercenary City. Master, this is Mercenary City of the Heavenly Wind region. If that Xia Qi is really the evil doctor, she should have come to Mercenary City to investigate if she wanted to return to the true Spill continent. Bei Qing said to the man in front of her. Yi Qianxian nodded. His face was hidden behind a white jade mask. It was impossible to tell whether he was happy or angry. Behind him, Bei Qing, Feng Yu, and the others also wore white jade masks, covering their faces. They had no choice but to do this. The people of Tiandu were still searching for Yi Qianxian's whereabouts. His Majesty was really angry this time. He was determined to take Yi Qianxian back and marry him before he turned 28. Moreover, he insisted on denying the existence of Luo Qingtong. They came to look for Luo Qingtong. They could not let the people of Tiandu discover their identities. Otherwise, Luo Qingtong's safety would be in danger. Bei Qing and Feng Yu were both people who served Yi Qianxian. Their appearances were familiar to the people of Tiandu, so they naturally had to wear white jade masks to cover their faces, to avoid being recognized by the people of Tiandu. It was Bei Qing's idea to come to Mercenary City. She had always been a careless person, but now her mind was actually sharp. When Yi Qianxian and the others went to Sky Wind Inscription City, they couldn't find Luo Qingtong. Bei Qing's mind flashed. If Luo Qingtong wanted to return to the true Spill continent, she would naturally look for a place to investigate if she didn't know the way. Then, there was likely to be a shadow of her in Mercenary City. As for why they thought that Luo Qingtong didn't know the way, that was because Song Cheng was also crazily looking for Luo Qingtong. The group was originally prepared to contact him and ask him about Xia Qi's true identity. They wanted to know if she was really Luo Qingtong. But they felt that someone was watching Song Cheng. Out of caution, Yi Qianxian and the others didn't contact him again. Chapter 24:31. After all, in this world, there were many people with the same name and surname, and even people with similar naming habits. Evil and 7 didn't mean anything. But what about Song City? This was Luo Qingtong's master. When Yi Qianxian was in true Spill continent, he knew some things about him. But he didn't expect that the other party would be from Sky Wind region Sky Wind Inscription City. If the other party was the one who summoned Luo Qingtong, then Luo Qingtong's disappearance in true Spill continent was very logical. Yi Qianxian and the others didn't stay in Sky Wind Inscription City for too long. As soon as Bei Qing mentioned Mercenary City, they immediately rushed over to Mercenary City. Unfortunately, if it weren't for the fact that we can't use the 10-directional dragon ring, we would have been able to determine the whereabouts of the evil doctor. Bei Qing said regretfully. It's fine. Feng Yu said, even so, it's still better than His Majesty and the others discovering our whereabouts, Master, and the whereabouts of the evil doctor. Previously, when Master had forcefully left Sky Capital, His Majesty and the others didn't know that Yi Qianxian was looking for Luo Qingtong. They thought that Luo Qingtong was still in the 9-star Desolate Domain. That was the name of the star field where true Spill continent was located. Because they didn't know that Yi Qianxian was looking for Luo Qingtong, Sky Capital's emperor wasn't angry at Luo Qingtong. But if he knew that Yi Qianxian had disobeyed his orders for Luo Qingtong, risking his meridians to leave Sky Capital, and even fighting with him, His Majesty would definitely make a move on Luo Qingtong. At that time, the evil doctor's safety would be worrying. Therefore, when Yi Qianxian attacked with all his strength, he also sealed the 10-directional dragon ring. Although this would make the process of finding Luo Qingtong much more difficult, it was still better than putting Luo Qingtong in danger. Everyone knew the importance of this matter. Bei Qing immediately stopped talking. The group plunged into Mercenary City and soon found out about the existence of Luo Qingtong. Luo Xiaoqi. Yi Qianxian's brows furrowed slightly. Hidden under the mask, there was a hint of solemnity. The other party's name sounded like Luo Qingtong. However, this Luo Xiaoqi is a teenager. Feng Yu said in a low voice, Master, I've checked carefully and looked from afar. The other party is indeed a genuine man. He shouldn't be an evil doctor. Luo Qingtong was a woman. Even though they had received news that Xia Qi was a man, Feng Yu and the others had not seen it with their own eyes. What's more, it wasn't like Luo Qingtong didn't have the experience of dressing up as a man, so everyone didn't care too much about it. He thought that Luo Qingtong had disguised herself as a man and became Xia Qi. But at this moment, Feng Yu and the others saw with their own eyes that Luo Qingtong had an Adam's apple when she was explaining on the square. This couldn't be faked. When Feng Yu and the others reported to Yi Qianxian, they were full of disappointment. That woman is very cunning. When it came to Luo Qingtong, Yi Qianxian's eyes softened. Even his cold voice had a trace of warmth. He doted on her without knowing it. It's not impossible to fake an Adam's apple. He thought of the scene when he first fought with Luo Qingtong in the sub-city of the Black Field because she pretended to be a man. He instantly chuckled and then snorted. I'll go and meet him in person. Don't interfere. It wasn't that Yi Qianxian didn't trust Bei Qing and Feng Yu's intelligence-gathering ability. Chapter 2432. Yi Qianxian was going to check her identity in person to prevent her from deceiving Bei Qing and Feng Yu again. After all, before confirming Luo Qingtong's identity, they couldn't expose her identity at will, so as not to attract the people of Heaven Capital. Yi Qianxian had used all his strength to break out of Heaven Capital. If the Emperor of Heaven Capital came to catch her again, he wouldn't be able to use all his strength again. Because his meridians couldn't bear it anymore. Yes. Bei Qing, Feng Yu, and others nodded. There was a glimmer of hope in their hearts. They hoped that Luo Qingtong was Luo Qingtong, but she hid her identity too well. Master knew the evil doctor better than them. If he did it, he might be able to find out a different result. Thinking of Luo Qingtong's strange and unpredictable abilities and means, everyone's face twitched slightly. If it was known that they couldn't even defeat a person from a low-level star region and a low-level continent, and were often fooled by her many means, the eyes of all the people of Heaven Capital would probably fall out of their sockets. However, if the evil doctor hadn't been so different, Master wouldn't have been so deeply entangled and unable to stop. Only the evil doctor was worthy of Master, who was so powerful. Those people of Heaven Capital were really short-sighted. Especially His Majesty, who wanted to force Master to comply and marry according to his wishes. It was really ridiculous. If the evil doctor rose, those noble ladies of Heaven Capital wouldn't even be worthy of carrying her shoes. The group of people saluted and left. In the Red Flame mercenary group, Luo Qingtong didn't know that Yi Qianxian had come to find her. She squatted in the bathtub, which was half the height of a person, submerged in the water up to her shoulders. While washing her body, she unconsciously stroked the knuckle on her left ring finger. There, the 9 phoenix ring was originally worn. But at this moment, the ring was taken off by Luo Qingtong, placed in the palm of her hand, and carefully examined it. Luo Qingtong had been injecting spiritual power into the 9 phoenix ring to see if she could contact Yi Qianxian's habits. But every time, it was unsuccessful. However, just now, when she was about to take off her clothes after taking a shower, she accidentally slipped the 9 Netherworld Phoenix ring off her finger. What was going on? Except for Yi Qianxian, no one else could take off this ring, including Luo Qingtong. Why did he take it down today? Luo Qingtong's expression was somewhat grave. She carefully examined the 9 Nether Phoenix ring and didn't find anything wrong with it. If it weren't for this accident, she probably wouldn't have known that the 9 Nether Phoenix ring could be taken off. What was going on? Could something have happened to Yi Qianxian's Shifang dragon ring? Luo Qingtong was thinking when she suddenly heard someone knocking on the door. Little 7. Yu Xian's voice came from outside. Let me get you some hot water. Hearing Yu Xian's voice, Luo Qingtong instantly had a headache. Not because of anything else, but because this person had been pestering her ever since she saved him. Especially when he just woke up and saw the people of the Red Flame mercenary group. She didn't know if it was the life with that sex young master that stimulated him, but when he saw Hu Zhan and a group of tall and strong mercenaries, he was scared and desperately hid beside her. Hu Zhan and the others didn't know what was going on, but Luo Qingtong was very clear. Seeing Yu Xian hiding behind her with a pale face and a pair of cold and clear eyes full of fear, Luo Qingtong's lips twitched slightly, but she couldn't refuse him. Chapter 2433. What made Luo Qingtong's head hurt even more was that she didn't know what kind of enslavement education he received from that sect's young master. He wholeheartedly believed that if he wanted to repay Luo Qingtong for saving his life, he had to serve her well. And this service, of course, wasn't the kind of service one would think of, but the simple kind of service. But Luo Qingtong didn't need it. She had a lot of secrets, and she didn't want others to find out that she was a girl, let alone let Yu Xian serve her by her side. Therefore, she directly refused. But Yu Xian refused to give up and silently worked for Luo Qingtong, and the people of the Red Flame mercenary group were happy to see it. After all, Luo Qingtong was the youngest guy in the Red Flame mercenary group, so they were naturally willing to pamper her. There was nothing bad about having someone take care of her life. For this reason, they even took the initiative to hand over some of Luo Qingtong's matters to Yu Xian. They were simply a group of cheating pig teammates. Hu Zhan also teased Luo Qingtong. Yu Xian probably had an obvious nestling mentality towards her. After all, Luo Qingtong saved him, so he naturally wanted to do his best to repay her. What kind of nestling mentality was this? Your nestling is so big? Luo Qingtong's heart was so stifled that she wished she could beat Hu Zhan and the other guys who made trouble for her to death. God knows how hard it was for her to refuse recently. If she hadn't eaten the small illusion pill, her identity as a girl might have already been exposed. No need. Luo Qingtong's lips twitched slightly as she said to the door, "I've already washed up." As she spoke, she quickly got up from the bathtub and put away the 9 Netherworld Phoenix ring in her hand. Then, she dried her body a few times, put on a set of clean clothes, and opened the door. Oh, under the moonlight outside, Yu Xian's figure was slender, his skin was like jade, and he was carrying a bucket of hot water in his hand. This action didn't suit him at all. But when Yu Xian did it, he seemed to have an immortal aura. Even the action of carrying hot water didn't damage his temperament at all. He looked like an immortal descending from the 9 heavens under the moonlight. But now, this banished immortal looked disappointedly at Luo Qingtong, who was already wearing a new set of clothes. However, Yu Xian quickly thought of something. His eyes lit up as he said, "Should I massage your back?" Before Luo Qingtong could refuse, he had already walked into Luo Qingtong's room and led her to the round table in the middle of the room. "My skills are very good. Little 7, you can try." As he spoke, he smiled and placed his hand on Luo Qingtong's shoulder. However, just as he was about to do so, Luo Qingtong grabbed his wrist. "Yu Xian, you don't have to do this. This is no longer the place you used to be. Saving you was just a matter of convenience. You don't have to thank me." Luo Qingtong looked helpless. She didn't like other people touching her body. Moreover, she still had many secrets hidden in her body. "Little 7 doesn't like me, right?" After Yu Xian's hand was grabbed by Luo Qingtong, his body stiffened. Then, he silently lowered his head and said in a low and slightly hoarse voice, "I know little 7 thinks I'm dirty, so I didn't recommend myself. I'm not worthy of you. I just want to repay you. After all, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have been able to escape." He paused and said, "Little 7 found out I was there that day, right? Thank you for not telling those people." Luo Qingtong raised her brows at Yu Xian's words. So this was why he was so determined to marry her. But what the hell did he mean by saying he was dirty? She didn't think that way at all, okay? Luo Qingtong frowned and was about to speak when. Chapter 2434. Luo Qingtong pressed Yu Xian's shoulder and pressed him down on the table. "Shoo!" She raised her index finger and put it on Yu Xian's lips. Then, she suddenly raised her hand and extinguished the candlelight in the room. In the darkness, Yu Mingxian's eyes were cold. When Luo Qingtong made her move, he thought that he had exposed some flaw and she had seen through him. He almost made his move. What's going on? He narrowed his eyes slightly. Using Luo Qingtong's action of pressing him down on the round table, he approached her silently. Almost half of his body was leaning against Lin Mengya. After getting along with her for a few days, Yu Mingxian found that Luo Qingtong was extraordinarily vigilant. Not only him, but even the people of the Red Flame mercenary group found it difficult to get close to her. The young man looked easygoing and easy to talk to, but in fact, he had wrapped his heart up and did not allow others to get close to him easily. Yu Mingxian was thinking about how to get close to her. If he guessed correctly, Luo Qingtong had stayed in Mercenary City for a long time. It was very likely that she would leave this place in a few days. By then, all his efforts would be in vain. He had racked his brains to get close to her, but it would be of no use. Thinking of this, Yu Mingxian's eyes turned cold. He was good at disguising himself. After so many years, Luo Qingtong was the first person who made him feel helpless. Yu Mingxian confirmed that there was no problem with his current identity and persona. If it were someone else, it would be easy for them to sympathize with him and take him under their wings to protect him. The people of the Red Flame mercenary group kept providing him with ways to get close to Luo Qingtong. However, Luo Qingtong did not pay much attention to him. Her attitude towards him was no different from that of the other people in Mercenary City. This made Yu Mingxian feel very troubled. When he got close, Luo Qingtong was also very uncomfortable. She frowned slightly and looked at the handsome face in front of her. Yu Mingxian's voice seemed to be close to her ear. His hot breath blew on her ears. Luo Qingtong knew that Yu Mingxian was probably afraid that others would hear him, so he deliberately lowered his voice and whispered into her ear. However, she still almost threw Yu Mingxian away. For Luo Qingtong, Yu Mingxian's proximity to her was enough to trigger her body's automatic counterattack. Nothing. Luo Qingtong furrowed her brows and put some distance between her and Yu Mingxian. Stay here and don't move. I'll be back soon. There was someone outside. Luo Qingtong's blood-red eyes flickered slightly as she looked at the figure outside the room. The other party's strength was extremely high. They had infiltrated her courtyard without alerting anyone. Furthermore, none of the array formations that she had set up around the room had given off any warning. If Luo Qingtong didn't have a pair of bloody pupils, she would have been killed. Most likely, he wouldn't even be able to discover the other party. Luo Qingtong wasn't sure if the other party was related to those black-clothed men. If those black-clothed men came to her door, she must leave immediately. Otherwise, not only her, but also the people of the Red Flame mercenary group would suffer. Luo Qingtong turned around and rushed out. Shua! Outside, Yi Qianming's figure had just approached Luo Qingtong's room when he instantly felt an aura rush out from the front. Have I been discovered? Chapter 24:35. His eyes lit up and he was very suspicious that the other party was Luo Qingtong. After all, with his strength and power, even if he was injured because he had temporarily used all his strength, it was not something that ordinary people could detect. Not to mention, he had deliberately hidden his figure. Could the other party be Luo Qingtong? As he thought so, he was about to speak when his eyes were fixed on Luo Qingtong's face. The large birthmark covered Luo Qingtong's face. After her special rendering and carving, it almost covered half of her face. With Yi Qianming's eyesight, he could naturally distinguish between what was fake and what was real. Most of the birthmark on her face was real. Yi Qianming looked at it and his eyes darkened. And Luo Qingtong took advantage of his stupefaction to rush out of her courtyard and leave the Red Flame mercenary group's encampment. Who are you? Luo Qingtong led Yi Qianming to a dark alley and then stared at the man in front of her with burning eyes. And because Yi Qianming was not completely sure of her identity, he did not use all his strength. Instead, he followed her lead and appeared in this alley with her. He stared at Luo Qingtong's face and still did not give up. This woman was full of tricks and cunning. Perhaps the birthmark was one of her tricks. Yi Qianming would not believe it until he confirmed it with his own eyes. When he first met Luo Qingtong, He was deceived by her. Thinking of how Luo Qingtong tricked him with bananas, deliberately letting him touch her and deceiving him, Yi Qianming's eyes were extremely deep. You are Luo Xiaoqi? Yi Qianming's eyes were fixed on her. Do you know Luo Qingtong? His voice was hoarse with obvious depression and distortion. As soon as he said this, Luo Qingtong's heart was suddenly shocked. Could it be that the other party was really one of those black-robed men, and that they had already found out her identity and were here to test her? One had to know that Luo Qingtong was Song Cheng's disciple. She was specially summoned by him, but she failed in the end. In Heavenly Wind Inscription City, this wasn't a secret. The other party came here to suspect that she was Xie Qi and Luo Qingtong. As she thought of this, her heart was very heavy, but her face was calm and composed, and her expression did not change. I don't know what you're talking about. What Luo Qingtong? Is that a woman? I'm a man. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes. Fortunately, she had obtained the pill formula for the illusory form pill and improved it into a small illusory form pill. Otherwise, she would definitely not be able to conceal her identity as Luo Qingtong. The other party really knows how to investigate. They actually found out about that identity. Luo Qingtong thought, her eyes cold. When Yi Qianming heard her words, his gaze swept across her face, body and throat. His expression was extremely ugly. Did he really find the wrong person? Yi Qianming's thin lips were tightly pursed. His face was hidden under the black mask, making it impossible for others to see his expression. Only his slightly exposed smooth chin was taut, showing that his mood was not calm at all. Luo Qingtong kept staring at his face as she spoke. The blood in her eyes spun quickly, trying to see his face under the mask. However, in order to avoid the people of Tiandu, Yi Qianming and Bei Qing around him all wore masks that could block others' detection. Chapter 2436. Although this kind of mask was precious in the star field, it wasn't something that didn't exist. The black cloak and hood that Yu Mingxian had worn also had this effect. It was just that this was an inscription tool unique to the Inscription Association. It was different from the mask that Yi Qianxian wore. As Luo Qingtong searched Yi Qianxian's face without any results, Yi Qianxian's figure also moved. He wanted to personally investigate whether or not Luo Qingtong was telling the truth. Shua! Yi Qianxian's figure shot up. Luo Qingtong had been paying attention to his movements the entire time. As his figure shot up, she was very clear that he didn't believe her words and was prepared to personally investigate. Luo Qingtong's eyes turned. She simply wasn't afraid of being investigated. After eating the minor phantom pill, her Adam's apple was protruding and her chest was flat. As long as the other party didn't touch her, it didn't matter how he investigated. Why not take advantage of the situation and directly dispel the other party's doubts? Otherwise, if the other party kept suspecting her, she would be exposed sooner or later. Luo Qingtong didn't want to bring trouble back to the true Spill continent. A 9-star territory and a 6-star territory were simply not on the same level. Moreover, during this period of time, she had heard from Heavenly Wind Mercenary City that the Inscription Association was a giant among the many star fields. Its influence was so great that it covered almost the entire outer space. More importantly, the appearance of the Inscription Association had ended the situation where the various Inscription Master sects had their own way of governing, and unified the Inscription Master sects' plans. Now, the Inscription Association had an extremely high status in the star fields. Any sect or family that wanted the help of an Inscription Master had to go to the Inscription Association and establish good relations with them. In such a situation, directly confronting the other party wasn't a good choice. As Luo Qingtong thought this, her eyes turned. She didn't deliberately block Yi Qianxian's move, but instead deliberately collided with his palm wind. She could see that the other party was probing her, so he didn't use much strength in his movements. In such a case, if she retreated, it would be like exposing herself. As Luo Qingtong thought this, she didn't even summon the life and death yin-yang sword. She directly collided with the opponent's palm wind. As she collided, she deliberately shouted, "Aya, help! Someone is killing me. I am Luo Xiaoqi, everyone come and help me." Knowing that the other party purposely came to test her identity and did not confirm whether she was Xia Qi or Luo Qingtong felt no pressure at all. With her current identity as Luo Xiaoqi, her influence in Mercenary City was extraordinary. Naturally, countless people were willing to come help her. Sure enough, all the lights of the alley was lit of the night of the night of the ZSS. Then all of the rooms teat sound. It's little seventh young master's voice. Tease. Of this. Brothers, hurry up and grab your weapons. A bunch of messy noises sounded, followed by the sounds of various figures and weapons being unsheathed. They all gathered towards Luo Qingtong's side. Luo Qingtong had lured this person out of the Red Flame mercenary group just for this moment. Chapter 24:37. The latter originally came to check whether her male identity was real or not, but he didn't expect that she would deliberately bump into him. With a bang, Luo Qingtong's figure was slapped back by Yi Qianxian's palm. At this moment, a figure suddenly rushed out from the side of the alley. Xiao Qi. Yu Xian's figure floated in the dark alley like an immortal. He anxiously appeared beside Luo Qingtong, standing in front of Luo Qingtong and glaring at Yi Qianxian in front of him. "Stop. Who are you? Why did you attack Xiao Qi?" Yu Mingxian's eyes were deep. He stared at the man in front of him, wondering who he was and why he suddenly attacked Luo Xiaoqi. Did other people know that the young man had the inscription of God? Or could it be that there was an even more unknown secret on his body? Yu Mingxian's eyes were inexplicable. But the expression on his face was firm and anxious. He stood in front of Luo Qingtong, protecting her behind him. Luo Qingtong's chest was hurt by her own collision. It was not that Yi Qianxian was too strong. On the contrary, the man almost didn't use any strength. He just wanted to check her identity. But damn it, Luo Qingtong didn't expect that although her chest was flattened by the small phantom elixir, Luo Qingtong still felt like her two little white rabbits were patted by Yi Qianxian's palm. It hurt. Luo Qingtong hissed softly. She touched her chest and confirmed that it was flat. Only then did she heave a sigh of relief. Damn it, she was scared to death. Fortunately, there was no problem with the other party's touch. Otherwise, she would have picked up a piece of tofu and killed herself. If she went up and let others find out that she was a woman, how stupid it would be. After Luo Qingtong felt relieved, she found Yu Xian standing in front of her, trembling and glaring at the man opposite him. Luo Qingtong's brows furrowed. Why was Yu Xian here? Didn't she ask him to stay in the room? But Luo Qingtong didn't have time to think about it. She got up and pushed Yu Xian aside. Then she rubbed her chest and said to Yi Qianxian opposite her, "Now you believe that I'm a man, right? Go. No matter what your purpose is, I'm not the one you're looking for. If you don't go now, you won't get away so easily." As Luo Qingtong spoke, she scanned the surrounding alleyways. Over there, a group of mercenaries who had been alarmed by her had already appeared. Yi Qianxian's eyes slightly. He looked at her coldly and didn't say anything. Then he turned and left. He could clearly feel that he had hit a flat area with his palm just now. No matter how a person's figure was disguised, the difference between a man and a woman was very obvious. If Luo Qingtong was a woman disguised as a man, Yi Qianxian should have seen through her by now. However, his chest was flat. Plus, there was an Adam's apple on her throat and the birthmark on her face. Yi Qianxian pursed his lips tightly. He couldn't help but believe that he had found the wrong person. Since she wasn't the person he was looking for, there was no need for him to stay here any longer. After Yi Qianxian left, Luo Qingtong let out a heavy sigh. Chapter 24:38. Finally, she got away with it. The other party was very strong. If he didn't only want to check her identity, she wouldn't have escaped so easily this time. At this moment, Luo Qingtong was very glad that she had made the decision to plan ahead. Otherwise, today's matter would definitely not be settled. And when she exhaled, a group of mercenaries who were alarmed by her rushed over. Little Seven. Little Seven Gongzi. Are you okay? Everyone asked with concern. They were holding weapons in their hands. Some of them didn't even wear shoes. They directly put on a robe and rushed out. Although these mercenaries were more realistic, they still understood the principle of repaying kindness. After there was no conflict of interest with Luo Qingtong, they immediately regarded Luo Qingtong as a member of Mercenary City. And they were willing to do what they could to repay her. I'm fine. Luo Qingtong looked at them and laughed heartily. The other party has been scared away. Thank you. If it weren't for these people, that person wouldn't have left so easily. Luo Qingtong's gratitude was sincere. Everything she had done before had finally paid off. Little Seven Gongzi, you don't have to thank us. We'll wait for you to teach us more practical skills and methods in the future. The group of mercenaries laughed and said. These people were used to the simple and crude method of completing missions with their lives on the line, regardless of wind or rain. Who would have thought that Luo Qingtong could actually formulate such a detailed and effective method according to the characteristics of the mission items? They had experimented several times. Now, they were all using the method taught by Luo Qingtong. Who knew how much damage and casualties were reduced? This was enough for them to be grateful to Luo Qingtong for a lifetime. What was a little help to her? After the group of people confirmed that Luo Qingtong was fine, they sent her and Yu Xian back to the Red Flame mercenary group. When the people of the Red Flame mercenary group arrived, they were immediately alarmed. When they learned that Luo Qingtong was attacked, their expressions changed. Little Seven, are you alright? Did you see that person's face clearly? Guifeng took a big stride forward and sized up Luo Qingtong. No. Luo Qingtong shook her head. At this moment, Hu Zhan clenched his fists. It must be those people from the Black Iron mercenary group. Those bastards, it's been so long and they're still thinking about Little Seven. Tomorrow, I will bring my men to the Mercenary Association and teach them a lesson. Luo Qingtong's lips twitched when she heard Hu Zhan's words. Why do I feel that the Black Iron mercenary group is so pitiful? They had been wrongly blamed for this. However, Luo Qingtong couldn't reveal her identity. Naturally, she couldn't tell Hu Zhan that she wasn't a member of the Black Iron mercenary group. Forget it, it's just a beating. She would just treat it as the interest of the Black Iron mercenary group when they started causing trouble for her. Luo Qingtong's lips twitched as she thought of this. However, she also felt a little strange. The man who appeared tonight, she initially thought that he was one of the people from the Black Iron mercenary group. However, the other party's behavior later didn't seem like it. Luo Qingtong frowned. Could it be that other than the Black Iron mercenary group, there were other people secretly searching for her whereabouts? Chapter 2439. But even if she knew that killing him would bring her a lot of trouble, Luo Qingtong didn't regret it. After all, it was very likely that he knew the whereabouts of the divine inscriptions on the 7th floor of the Heavenly Wind Inscription Tower. Compared to the trouble caused by the other party revealing the information, Luo Qingtong would rather kill him and cause some trouble. After all, they weren't on the same level. From the beginning to the end, Luo Qingtong didn't suspect that the person who came to find her might be Yi Qianxian. After all, she didn't expect that Yi Qianxian would appear here and secretly find her. She had changed her identity, changed her gender, and even had a huge birthmark on her face. Before completely confirming her identity, how could Yi Qianxian reveal her identity? The two of them missed each other by a freak combination of factors. While Luo Qingtong was thinking about Yi Qianxian's identity, the man had already returned to his room. Bei Qing, Feng Yu, and the others had been waiting for him. Seeing Yi Qianxian's figure appear, they immediately stood up and looked at him with hopeful eyes. Master, how was it? Their faces were full of expectation. Yi Qianxian looked at their eyes and inexplicably felt a little depressed. He was also very expectant that Luo Qingtong was Luo Xiaoqi. However, it's not her. Yi Qianxian's voice was deep. He took off the mask on his face and threw it on the bed. He walked to the window and looked into the distance. Qingtong, where are you? What? Bei Qing, Feng Yu, and the others looked at each other. Everyone's eyes were still full of hope, but the light in their eyes slowly dimmed. Luo Xiaoqi was the only person they could find that matched Luo Qingtong's identity, but it wasn't her. Where did the evil doctor go? In the outer realms, powerhouses were as common as clouds. The evil doctor was suddenly brought to the outer realms. They didn't know how she could safely return to the true Spill continent. If anything happened to her, then Master, are you sure you've investigated thoroughly? Bei Qing could not help but ask. He had never doubted Yi Qianxian's words, but when he saw Yi Qianxian's lonely back, he couldn't help but speak up. Bei Qing. Feng Yu shouted in a low voice. How could Master make a mistake? Yi Qianxian hoped that Luo Xiaoqi was an evil doctor more than they did. If he wasn't completely confident, he definitely wouldn't have said that. Furthermore, Feng Yu couldn't bear to speak. When they saw Luo Qingtong from afar, they had already confirmed that her Adam's apple was real. With their eyesight, it was impossible for them to be mistaken. There was also a birthmark on her face. It was just that Yi Qianren wouldn't give up on this unless she personally investigated it. Therefore, they did not try to persuade him. At the same time, there was a trace of hope in his heart. Fortunately, Luo Qingtong really had the ability to pass off the fake as the real thing and deceive their eyesight. However, it seemed that they hadn't made a mistake before. This sovereign hit her chest. Yi Qianxian's deep voice drifted in from the window. She is indeed a young man. Let the people of the underground palace investigate other things. In addition, we will leave Mercenary City tomorrow. Yes. Bei Qing, Feng Yu, and the others nodded. Looking at Yi Qianxian's lonely back, they did not disturb him and quietly left. Chapter 2440. Translations, Clop Clop Clop. In Mercenary City, the extremely muffled sound of horse hooves resounded. Then, a group of well-trained and valiant men and horses galloped into Mercenary City. Their figures were vast and mighty, and the aura they exuded as they walked was extremely frightening. Rumble. When these men and horses galloped into Mercenary City, the city gates suddenly opened wide. Then, one after another, the sound of a bell reverberated in the sky above Mercenary City. Clang clang clang. The sound of the bell was followed by the excited voice of the leader of the Black Iron Mercenary Group, which echoed in Mercenary City. Mercenaries in the city, please come to the square of the Mercenary Guild. The Tianfeng Chu clan has something to announce. In addition, all the leaders of high-ranking mercenary groups, those who are above the human martial arts realm, immediately come to the hall of the Mercenary Guild. Everyone else, wait in the square of the Mercenary Guild. Hua. Following the announcement of the leader of the Black Iron Mercenary Group and the deafening sound of horse hooves, the entire Heavenly Wind Mercenary City fell into an uproar. The Tianfeng Chu clan was one of the top clans in the Heavenly Wind Star Zone. They had more than one high-ranking continent. Almost every outstanding disciple under their command had a high-ranking continent under their name. What kind of concept was that? Owning a high-ranking continent? This not only meant that the people on that continent could live and die in his hands. It also meant that all the resources on that continent would belong to him alone. Using the power of a high-ranking continent to support one person's cultivation. Even if the disciple of the Tianfeng Chu clan was as stupid as a pig, he could still cultivate it. Not to mention those from the Tianfeng Chu clan who could obtain a high-ranking continent from their clan. They were not mediocre at all, but geniuses. From this, it could be seen how powerful the Tianfeng Chu clan was. And the Tianfeng Chu clan's strength was not only that, but they were also the domain master clan of the Heavenly Wind domain. Chu Tianyi, the current ruler of the Tianfeng domain, was the head of the Tianfeng Chu family. It hadn't even been 20 years since he took over the position of clan head, and it hadn't even been 10 years since he took over the position of region lord. He was truly a formidable and ambitious person who had single-handedly established the Chu clan's current structure and the world. Now that someone from the Tianfeng Chu clan had appeared here and clearly had something to announce, how could the people of Mercenary City not be shocked? After all, with the strength and status of the Tianfeng Chu clan, why would they need to come to Mercenary City to issue missions? Wouldn't that mean that with a flick of a finger, there would be countless people working for them? Not to mention, the Tianfeng Chu clan had many subordinate clans and sects under them. How could they, as mercenaries, work for them? Everyone was in an uproar, but they still followed their curiosity and came to the square of the Mercenary Association. Yi Qianxian and the others were originally preparing to leave Mercenary City today, but the arrival of the people from the Tianfeng Chu clan disrupted their plans. Not only had the people from the Tianfeng Chu clan entered the city, but they had also sealed off the roads at the city gates. It was said that before they finished their announcement, no one in Heavenly Wind Mercenary City was allowed to leave. This decision was abnormally overbearing and unreasonable, causing many people in Mercenary City to complain. Chapter 2441. After all, they still had to leave the city to complete their mission. But the Tianfeng Chu family was powerful. They were far from what the wandering mercenaries in Mercenary City could compare with. With a large number of troops stationed at the city gates, anyone who tried to force their way out would die. The group of mercenaries were angry, but they didn't dare to speak. Although Yi Qianxian and the others could force their way out of Mercenary City, doing so would inevitably cause trouble. If their identities were exposed and they attracted the attention of Sky Capital's people and Sky Capital's emperor, that would be troublesome. As everyone thought this, they suddenly looked at Yi Qianxian. Master? Bei Qing and Feng Yu looked at him inquisitively. Yi Qianxian's face was hidden under the white jade mask, so it was impossible to tell if he was happy or angry. Then let's wait and see, he said. He didn't know why, but he didn't want to leave Mercenary City. That woman wasn't here, so he should leave as soon as possible and go somewhere else to look for her. Otherwise, if she was alone in the starry skies, with a secret that others coveted, and no one by her side to help her, what would happen if she encountered danger? Yi Qianxian was worried. Even though he knew that Luo Qingtong wasn't weak. On the contrary, her personality was cunning, deceitful, and unpredictable. In addition to her elusive abilities, it was difficult for anything to happen to her. But just in case, what if? He had found Luo Qingtong's identity in True Spill Continent. After being together with her, he had never lost contact with her again. One could say that he was worried for nothing, or that he was indecisive. As long as it concerned Luo Qingtong, he would never be able to calm down. Unless he stayed as that woman, always looking at her, holding her hand, and knowing that she was well. Otherwise, he would never be able to feel at ease. This was probably what people often called the feeling of love and longing, right? Who would have thought that one day, he would be so worried about a woman, so worried that he couldn't control himself? In Yi Qianxian's limited 20 years of life, he had never thought of this before. But at this moment, even though he was so anxious and couldn't wait to fly to that woman's side, he couldn't help but feel a little reluctant to leave Mercenary City. Could it be that he was still hoping that woman would come to Mercenary City in the next few days? Yi Qianren's heart was vexed. He pursed his lips and didn't say anything else. After saying those words, he immediately turned around and left. Bei Qing, Feng Yu, and the others heaved a sigh of relief when they heard his words, and they hurriedly responded to him. They were also very worried that Yi Qianxian would charge through the city gate regardless of the consequences. After all, Master had been in a bad mood since last night after checking whether Luo Shaoqi of the Red Flame mercenary group was an evil doctor. Previously, he had been looking forward to it, but now, his feelings of loss and entanglement were just as depressing and unbearable. They all understood in their hearts. Fortunately, Master was still able to control himself and knew that it was useless to force his way through. It was just a few days later, and it was better than alarming the people of Heaven Capital. But why did the people of Tianfeng Chu's family come to Mercenary City for no reason? As everyone thought of this, they hurriedly followed Yi Qianren's footsteps and returned to the room. In the mercenary club, a group of high-ranking mercenary groups and the Black Iron mercenary group were looking at an old man sitting in the main seat in front of them. Chapter 2442. The leader of the Black Iron mercenary group was very flattering. He took a step forward and hurriedly said, "All the leaders of the high-ranking mercenary groups and the experts of the human martial arts realm in Mercenary City are all here. What's the matter, please tell us." His face was full of flattery. God knew how excited the leader of the Black Iron mercenary group was when he found out that the Tianfeng Chu family was coming to Mercenary City to ask them to help with something. This was the Tianfeng Chu family. A true giant family in the Tianfeng region. If he could have a relationship with such a family, even if it was just a little bit, he wouldn't have to be a weak mercenary group leader in Mercenary City. Just the name of the Tianfeng Chu family was enough to bring him great benefits. However, it was a pity that this foreign affairs elder sent by the Tianfeng Chu family completely ignored him. Instead, he treated Guifeng and the others differently. It was really infuriating. The leader of the Black Iron mercenary group was full of depression and hatred towards Guifeng. If it weren't for him, he wouldn't have been tormented so miserably by that Luo Shaoqi. Their entire Black Iron mercenary group was almost pulled down by someone else. Not only that, they were almost disbanded. Those people who listened to Luo Qingtong's explanation came back every day to make trouble for him, the leader, and asked him to apologize to Luo Qingtong. Otherwise, they would leave the group. Not only that, those mercenaries who were cheated by him came in groups to make trouble for them. In order to solve the trouble caused by Luo Qingtong's explanation, he almost lost his family fortune, okay? All the resources and rewards that he had plundered over the years were all used up. Not only that, it wasn't enough. It caused him to tighten his belt and desperately look for people to borrow money everywhere, and who knew how much debt he owed. And all of this was because Guifeng and the others protected Luo Qingtong. Otherwise, with the other party's magical appraisal ability, they would be a money tree. Couldn't they move to anywhere? It was really a wave of the hand, and a large amount of money and resources would be in their hands. Unfortunately, Guifeng, that self-proclaimed righteous and principled person, had messed it up. Thinking of this, the Black Iron mercenary group's leader felt displeased. If it wasn't for the Tianfeng Chu clan personally calling for all the high-ranking mercenary groups to come, he really didn't want Guifeng and the others to come. While he was feeling frustrated, Elder Fu from the Heavenly Wind Shu clan swept his gaze across the group of mercenaries in front of him. Other than Guifeng and Hu Zhan, as well as the leaders of the other high-rank mercenary groups, whom he barely looked up to, the others were all a bunch of trash. Finding such a group of trash to work for the Tianfeng Chu clan was really a disgrace to the Tianfeng Chu clan's reputation. However, things had happened so suddenly that there was nothing he could do. In order to cover up the news and get that thing as soon as possible, they had no choice but to let these mercenaries take action. Thinking of this, Elder Fu frowned and was about to speak. At this moment, his gaze suddenly swept to Luo Qingtong and he said coldly, "Why is such a lowly trash here?" Leader of the Black Iron mercenary group, what do you think the mission of the Tianfeng Chu clan is? He clearly said that only the leaders of the high-rank mercenary groups could come in and listen to him talk about the mission. Chapter 2443. Guifeng's and the others' faces instantly changed when they heard Elder Fu's words. Especially Hu Zhan. He was completely enraged. "You, old bastard." Before he could finish speaking, he was stopped by Guifeng. "Elder Fu." He looked at Elder Fu with a neither servile nor overbearing expression. "Little Seven is a member of our Red Flame mercenary group. At the same time, she's also a VIP of all the mercenary groups in Mercenary City. Her appearance here is a request from all of us mercenary groups. If you don't think it's appropriate for her to appear here, then there's no need for us to participate in the Tianfeng Chu family's mission. Don't you think so? As he spoke, his gaze swept across the crowd in Tianfeng Mercenary City. These people had previously said that they wanted Luo Qingtong to come here to participate in the Tianfeng Chu family's meeting. If not for this, why would Luo Qingtong stand here and be humiliated? If they didn't say anything today, Guifeng would immediately leave with Luo Qingtong. As for the Tianfeng Chu family's mission, the Red Flame mercenary group wouldn't participate in it. Could it be that the Heavenly Wind Shu clan dared to force a trade? Guifeng's thoughts were mature. Naturally, he wouldn't watch Luo Qingtong be humiliated. However, the Red Flame mercenary group couldn't easily go against the Tianfeng Chu family's reputation. If Hu Zhan had said those words just now, it would have vented his anger, but the consequences would be unimaginable. It would have even caused more trouble for Luo Qingtong. However, it would be different if all the mercenary groups spoke together. The law couldn't punish the majority. Moreover, the Tianfeng Chu family still needed these mercenary groups to work for them. They wouldn't let all the mercenary groups withdraw. Guifeng's words were to force these mercenary groups to follow suit and stand on Luo Qingtong's side. This would prevent the Tianfeng Chu family from venting their anger on Luo Qingtong. It could be said that Guifeng's idea was extremely good. When the mercenaries heard his words, they couldn't help but feel embarrassed. Indeed, they were the ones who called Luo Qingtong over. They wanted Luo Qingtong to listen to the content of the mission so that she could give them more ideas. Furthermore, the Tianfeng Chu family was actually willing to hand over the mission to their mercenary group. Obviously, this mission was not ordinary. Luo Qingtong's meticulous observation and meticulous planning in Mercenary City had already been deeply rooted in the hearts of the people. Naturally, everyone wanted her to be their supervisor. However, to everyone's surprise, Elder Fu was so angry at Luo Qingtong's appearance. The group of people wanted to stand up for Luo Qingtong, but they were afraid of offending the Tianfeng Chu family and getting into trouble. But at this time, Guifeng purposely forced them, resolving their worries instead. If they spoke together, the Tianfeng Chu family couldn't possibly wipe them all out, right? With this thought in mind, the group of people immediately said, "Elder Fu, Little Seven's ability is indeed extraordinary. We specially invited her here." Yes, Elder Fu, Little Seven is our Mercenary City's god of fortune. If you don't let her participate here, we won't dare to accept your mission. Elder Fu's face darkened when he heard their words. God of fortune? Extraordinary ability? Chapter 2444. The other party was merely a youth with an ugly appearance and low strength. Why was it that when they were talking about him, it was as if he was a god? If that was the case, was he blind to not recognize Mount Tai when he spoke against the other party? Elder Fu's expression darkened, and he was furious. The members of the Heavenly Wind Shu clan who were standing beside him were also enraged. These people from Mercenary City were just mud that couldn't support a wall. She dared to talk back to Elder Fu for a weak and uncouth young man. The atmosphere between the mercenaries and the people from the Tianfeng Chu clan was tense. At this moment, the leader of the Black Iron mercenary group hurriedly stepped forward to smooth things over. "Hey, everyone, why do you have to do this? Elder Fu just doesn't know Luo Xiaoqi's identity. Besides, it's wrong for a weak person like her to be here. You didn't explain it in advance, so of course Elder Fu is angry. Don't you agree, Elder Fu?" As he spoke, he looked at Elder Fu with a flattering smile. Elder Fu didn't think highly of him. But now, the leader of the Black Iron mercenary group was belittling Luo Qingtong, which meant that he agreed with Elder Fu that Luo Qingtong was a weak piece of trash. This made him feel very comfortable, and he looked at the leader of the Black Iron mercenary group in a different light. That's right. An ugly and weak person. If it weren't for you guys interceding for her, I would have beaten her out of here. You better be telling the truth. Otherwise. Elder Fu snorted and narrowed his eyes. His aura was suddenly released, and it was very terrifying. Immediately, the mercenaries were forced to take a few steps back. Everyone's expression changed, and they all said that they didn't dare. As for Guifeng and Hu Zhan, they rushed to Luo Qingtong's side instantly when Elder Fu's aura exploded. They released their auras and enveloped the young man in front of them. They snorted coldly and retreated with a group of people. Their expressions were extremely ugly. Damn, this old bastard. Hu Zhan cursed in his heart. So what if you have strength? Damn it, if they hadn't acted fast enough, Luo Qingtong might have been hurt. He clearly knew that Luo Shaoqi didn't have any strength, yet he still deliberately released his aura to suppress her. Hu Zhan didn't believe that he didn't do it on purpose. Damn it. If not for Guifeng holding him back, he would have already rushed out. Big brother, let's not participate in this troublesome mission. *CK, these Tianfeng Chu people are willing to work for us. It's definitely not a good thing. Let's just reject it. At least little Seven won't be humiliated like this. Hu Zhan angrily whispered into Guifeng's ear. Before Elder Fu could say anything, Elder Fu looked over at them. Humph. You can choose not to participate. But this kid has to stay. As he spoke, he pointed at Luo Qingtong. Seeing this, Hu Zhan was enraged. Why? This old bastard is going to fight Luo Shaoqi, right? How shameless. Hu Zhan was about to explode from anger. Humph, based on what you said just now. Elder Fu sneered. Didn't you say that she's a goddess of fortune? What ability does she have? Why did you have to bring her here? Chapter 2445. Elder Fu couldn't take it lying down. All the mercenaries spoke up for Luo Qingtong. As a member of the Tianfeng Chu family, no one dared to disrespect him like this. Although he could swallow his anger in order to let these mercenaries take the mission, he didn't want to let go of Luo Qingtong, the culprit. He had thought highly of Guifeng and Hu Zhan. But they actually went against him for Luo Shaoqi. Elder Fu didn't like them at all. They didn't want to take the mission, but Luo Shaoqi had to stay. And the mercenaries didn't want Luo Qingtong to leave either. What a joke. They even offended the Tianfeng Chu family for Luo Shaoqi. Instead, they let the Black Iron mercenary group take the lead. If Luo Qingtong left with Guifeng and Hu Zhan, what would they do? Without Luo Qingtong as the backbone of the team, they were terrified. No, Hu Zhan, don't be so impulsive. That's right. Even if you don't think for yourself, you should think for us. If Shaoqi leaves, what should we do? You Red Flame mercenary group can't be so disloyal. They all talked at once, which made Hu Zhan choke with anger. Couldn't these idiots see that Elder Fu was trying to get rid of Luo Shaoqi? Just as he was about to open his mouth in anger, Guifeng pressed down on his shoulder and suppressed him. Don't be impulsive. If we go against the Tianfeng Chu family, it won't be good for Luo Shaoqi and us. He glanced at Elder Fu and the members of the Tianfeng Chu family behind him and said. Guifeng knew it very well. If they didn't take the mission, it wouldn't do them any good. Not to mention that Elder Fu didn't allow Luo Qingtong to leave. Even if he did, Guifeng wouldn't quit the mission. Because if they quit the mission, they and Luo Qingtong would be even less safe. On the contrary, they were together with the people from Mercenary City, advancing and retreating together. Only then would those people from the Tianfeng Chu clan not dare to make a move secretly. When Hu Zhan first spoke, Guifeng wasn't prepared to agree. Guifeng felt helpless in his heart. This fellow's brain was lacking a few tendons. His thinking was too simple. Luo Qingtong also wanted to hold Tiger Zhan down. What Guifeng could think of, she could naturally think of as well. However, since Guifeng had already made his move, she did not make another move. She merely smiled and said, Big brother Hu Zhan was just joking. It's impossible for us, the Red Flame mercenary group, to withdraw from the mission. After all, it's our honor to be able to help the Tianfeng Chu family. Don't you agree, Elder Fu? She looked at him with a smile. She remembered everything that Elder Fu said to her just now. When the mission started, there would be plenty of opportunities for revenge. Why should she be in a hurry? She was looking forward to finding out what the mission was that could make the people from the Tianfeng Chu family come to Mercenary City to work for them. It must be very complicated. If anything unexpected happened during this mission, then she could not be blamed. Wasn't that the case? Luo Qingtong raised her hand and gently caressed her wrist. The smile on her face became even more innocent, as if she didn't take Elder Fu's words to heart. Seeing her expression, Elder Fu snorted coldly and didn't say anything else. Gui Feng and the others weren't weak. In the current situation, one more helping hand meant one more chance. He didn't need to waste Gui Feng and the others' help for an ugly, vulgar, and weak young man. Otherwise, why would he tolerate Hu Zhan's impudence? He would have kicked him out long ago. Since that's the case, let's talk about the mission. As he spoke, he slowly opened his mouth and explained the mission one by one. Following his voice, the crowd's expressions immediately changed. Chapter 2446. Tian Luo Grass. Luo Qingtong's eyes sparkled. She fixed her gaze on Elder Fu. The people around her were also breathing heavily, as if they were unable to control themselves. It wasn't that the mercenaries lacked self-control, but the news that Elder Fu told them was too shocking. It was no wonder that after they had summoned the people of Mercenary City, they had only sent the experts and managers of the high-ranked mercenary groups. It wasn't that they were arrogant, but that there was more to this mission. And it was extremely shocking. That's right, Tian Luo Grass. Elder Fu's face was filled with pride and arrogance when he saw the shocked expressions on the mercenaries' faces. These vulgar people from Mercenary City. If it weren't for this special situation, why would the Tianfeng Chu clan need to come to Mercenary City to find people? Elder Fu's eyes darkened. I don't think I need to explain more about this Tian Luo grass. This is a peerless immortal herb that can only be formed after being nurtured by Khanate Qi and the Great Tao. It usually only forms when the heart of a high-ranking continent transforms. It's extremely rare for the heart of a high-ranking continent to transform. It usually only transforms when a high-ranking continent is on the verge of destruction. Once the heart of a continent transforms successfully, the high-ranking continent will be able to continue its life. If it doesn't, the high-ranking continent will be completely destroyed. This Tian Luo grass is formed when the heart of a continent transforms. There are countless hearts of continents in the world that transforms when the time comes, but only a few can form a peerless immortal herb like the Tian Luo grass. This Tian Luo grass can not only help a person obtain an immortal spiritual body, but it can also transform a person overnight. Even an idiot, a person as stupid as a pig, after touching this heaven-sifting grass, would immediately transform into a mortal body and achieve an immortal spirit body. At the same time, their strength will increase by leaps and bounds, and they will directly enter the Venerable Realm. If someone above the Venerable Realm obtains it, their strength will also increase by a whole realm. At the same time, whether it's advancing to the human martial realm or the human martial realm, there won't be any obstacles. This peerless immortal herb is the reason why we're here to issue this mission. The mercenaries swallowed their saliva when they heard Elder Fu's words. The ability to break through a whole realm aside, the immortal spiritual body alone was enough to drive them crazy. The immortal spiritual body. What was the goal of all these cultivators to go against the heavens? It wasn't for supreme power, but for the great Tao of heaven and earth. The immortal spiritual Qi was a threshold to the great Tao of heaven and earth. It was the martial artists when they cultivated to the Venerable Realm. This was because the introduction of the immortal Qi was a huge test for them. From the body to the soul, everything had to undergo a metamorphosis. Not only that, it was not easy for them to absorb and refine the immortal Qi. Every wisp of immortal energy had to go through layers of refinement and extraction before they could obtain a tiny bit of energy to strengthen and fill their meridians. Under such circumstances, they did not know how long they would have to cultivate for before they could absorb enough energy for their own advancement. Chapter 2447. The law of heaven and earth contained in it was even more complicated and profound. It could be said that every step was arduous and difficult. Every expert who could cultivate to the venerable realm and above had endured for an unknown amount of time. Of course, there were those who were extremely talented and took much less time to cultivate than others, but they still managed to reach their current level. However, the immortal spiritual body was different. If one attained the immortal spiritual body, they would naturally be able to absorb immortal spiritual qi. This powerful aura, which was even more powerful than spiritual qi, was as simple as eating and drinking in front of the immortal spiritual body. One could easily refine the power and law of heaven and earth from the immortal spiritual qi. Therefore, no one would not be tempted by the news of the Tian Luo grass. However, the group of mercenaries were not fools. Why would the Tianfeng Chu clan leak the news of such an immortal herb? Why would they let them complete the mission? Were they not afraid that they would take it for themselves? After all, no one could resist the temptation of the Tian Luo grass. The group of mercenaries was very confused. The leader of a high-ranking mercenary group directly asked the question. If you can get the Tian Luo grass, then it's your ability. But is it so easy to get such a peerless immortal herb? Elder Fu's face was full of disdain when he heard the leader's question. If it was so easy to get the Tian Luo grass, why would he come to these mercenaries? Did he think that the Tianfeng Chu clan had no one else? If the strength of these itinerant cultivators and mercenaries were to be displayed, the disciples of the Tianfeng Chu clan's branch families would be able to kill them in an instant with the help of their cultivation methods and weapons, even if their cultivation levels were much lower than theirs. If it weren't for the special circumstances, why would they come to these trash? These mercenaries might not think too highly of themselves. Elder Fu's face was full of disdain. His words also made the mercenaries very embarrassed. Gui Feng and Hu Zhan were the same. These mercenaries were all self-taught geniuses. They relied on their courage, stumbling, and relying on their talent and perseverance to forcefully kill their way out of this cold-blooded and merciless heavenly Tao. Their strength was indeed inferior to those disciples who came from large sects and factions. Because they didn't have a systematic learning system, they didn't have powerful cultivation techniques, and they didn't have any elders who could teach them and point out their cultivation mistakes. Everything they relied on was their own lives and their courage to not be afraid of death. What right did Elder Fu have to look down on them? If they had been born in a big family, or even an ordinary family or sect, they wouldn't have been afraid of Elder Fu at all. In terms of willpower and talent, even the disciples of the 10 great clans might not be able to compete with them. After all, for the mercenaries who had risen from humble beginnings to their current strength, which one of them had talent and strength that was inferior to the disciples of the big families? They just didn't have the resources and background of the disciples of the big clans. In this world, what mattered was not talent and strength, but resources. Everyone was sad. They didn't want to accept Elder Fu's disdain, but they couldn't refute him. They were angry but didn't dare to say anything. Chapter 2448. However, that place doesn't belong to the Tianfeng domain. Do you understand now? That place belongs to another star area, a 6-star area called the Flying Star Area. That abandoned high-level continent is right at the edge of the Flying Star Area. The experts of the Tianfeng Chu clan can't take it by themselves, so we need your help. Elder Fu's voice was cold. If the disciple of the Tianfeng Chu clan hadn't been discovered by others when he found the Tianfeng grass, they wouldn't have been in such a passive position. Now, another family in the Flying Star area had also learned about the Tianfeng grass. In order to prevent this information from being leaked, they had tacitly kept it a secret. But at the same time, in order to compete for the ownership of the Tianfeng grass, they made an agreement with each other. That was to let the juniors of their clans fight for the Tianfeng grass. But because of the danger of the Tianfeng grass, they couldn't let the juniors go alone. But if they sent the experts of their clans to guard it, they were worried that the other party would do something to it. Therefore, they made an agreement to hire mercenaries. They would swear to the heavens and earth that these mercenaries weren't their men. Otherwise, they would die on the spot. After the oath, the fight would begin. No matter which family got the Tianfeng grass, the other family wouldn't be able to stop them. Therefore, Elder Fu wasn't worried that someone among the mercenaries would take the Tianfeng grass for himself. How capable was the other party to escape from the pursuit of the two families? Not to mention that the experts of the various clans would be guarding the Forsaken Continent. If the other party could get the Tianfeng grass and escape from their pursuit, they would accept it. After Elder Fu finished speaking, they finally understood what was going on. So that's how it is. The high-class continent discovered by the Heavenly Wind Shu clan was not in the Heavenly Wind region? No wonder they asked them to take action. If that was the case, everything made sense. After all, the fewer people who knew about the Tianfeng grass, the better. Although the Tianfeng Chu clan was powerful, there might be other families in the Tianfeng domain that could compete with them. The Tianfeng grass was in the Flying Star area, which was not related to them. If they went there with great fanfare and were discovered by others, they would be in trouble. Moreover, it was easy to attract the attention of other aristocratic families. After all, a stalk of Skynet grass was already sufficient to create an extremely valiant genius disciple. Entering the Venerable Realm overnight was equivalent to many years of bitter cultivation. Not to mention a physique like the immortal spiritual body, who knew how many people coveted it. In the future, when he cultivated, it would be so difficult. It was unknown how many times faster his strength would advance compared to others. Furthermore, it didn't affect his strength at all. His foundation was still as solid as ever. It's like using a powerful pump to suck up water. You can't say that the quality of the water it absorbs isn't good just because it absorbs water faster and more, right? Wasn't it still the same water? But the time it takes to fill up the pool is faster and stronger than you. Everyone thought so and sighed in their hearts. Unfortunately, the heavenly luo grass was not theirs. All right. Everyone nodded in agreement. If that was the case, they had no reason to refuse. The reward given by the Tianfeng Chu family was also very generous. Chapter 2449. The Tianfeng Chu family would even give them some of the cultivation methods and secret manuals that they had given to their affiliated families. Of course, even if they didn't complete the mission, the Tianfeng Chu family wouldn't treat them badly. They would still be rewarded. But they wouldn't be as generous as completing the mission. Everyone was very excited when they heard that. Especially when they heard about the cultivation methods and secret manuals, they couldn't help but feel excited. After all, mercenaries who had been through a lot of bloodshed lacked cultivation methods and secret manuals the most, as well as cultivation experience. When they heard that the Tianfeng Chu family would provide them with these, they were as excited as if they had been injected with chicken blood. Gui Feng and Hu Zhan didn't think there was anything wrong with such a mission. Even the rewards of the mission were much better than what they usually received. It was worth it. But they were very worried about Luo Qingtong. If they had known that the Tianfeng Chu family wanted them to fight for the Tian Luo grass, they would have objected to Luo Qingtong staying. Now that Elder Fu had forced her to participate in the mission, what should they do? Although the young man's ability was powerful, her strength was too weak. She was only at the peak of the Holy Venerable Realm. She was at the bottom of the mercenaries. After all, even the weakest mercenary among them was at the Green Venerable Realm. The two of them were very worried. Luo Qingtong, on the other hand, was very happy. Tian Luo grass? This is a rare opportunity. I didn't expect the Tianfeng Chu family to come here with this mission. Luo Qingtong's eyes were faintly shining with a demonic bloody light. That was the expression of her excitement. Soon, the light disappeared. Luo Qingtong didn't expect to encounter such a good thing when she was about to leave Mercenary City in 2 days. She didn't care about the Tian Luo grass, which could help her achieve the immortal spiritual body. Instead, she valued its effect of achieving the Venerable Realm overnight. Luo Qingtong had advanced to the Holy Venerate Realm so far. It was unknown whether it was because she had absorbed Xiao Tuanzi's power and aura, or because she had advanced too quickly. In short, no matter how hard she tried, she was always one step away from breaking through. The venerable realm was right in front of him, but the barrier could be touched and seen. But it just couldn't be broken. It was so hard that it made people feel stifled. Luo Qingtong made a careful calculation. If she were to follow the normal speed of absorbing spiritual energy, she would have to wait a few years before she could break through the barrier of the venerable realm. Otherwise, she would have to wait until Xiao Tuanzi woke up to ask it what was going on. But now, neither of these were easy to achieve. Now, the appearance of the Tianfeng Chu family had solved her problem. That sky luo grass, if she could obtain it. Luo Qingtong's lips curved up slightly. She looked at Elder Fu's arrogant face and smiled without saying a word. Right at this moment, the voices of Guifeng and the others suddenly rang out. Elder Fu, this matter is really too dangerous. We are willing to do anything for you, but can you give little Seven a way out and not participate in this mission? Pfft. Hearing Guifeng's words, Luo Qingtong almost choked on her own saliva. Brother Gu? She turned to look at Guifeng and Hu Zhan, and her lips twitched slightly. It can't be, right? Guifeng and the others must not cause trouble. She knew they cared about her. Chapter 2450. As soon as Luo Qingtong finished speaking, Guifeng and Hu Zhan each pressed her shoulders. Xiao Qi, don't speak. Let us handle this. If we let you do this, it'll be over. Luo Qingtong stared at Guifeng and Hu Zhan, who were staring at Elder Fu, waiting for him to speak. Now she could only hope that Elder Fu would be a little more helpful. Don't agree so easily. Please despise me as much as you can. Perhaps Elder Fu had heard her inner cry. He glanced at her and Guifeng with a smug look and snorted. What do you think the mission of the Tianfeng Chu clan is? Since you wanted to come. Then you can't leave now. With that, he flicked his sleeves and left. Luo Xiaoqi had such a great influence on Guifeng and the others. How could he let her leave alone? What's more, didn't Guifeng and the others just embarrass him for Luo Xiaoqi? Elder Fu deliberately asked Luo Qingtong to stay just to see Guifeng and the others' annoyed and regretful expressions. He was very pleased with himself. But he didn't know that Luo Qingtong was giving him a thumbs up in her heart. Good job. Old man, you're pretty awesome. Ahem, Luo Qingtong coughed softly and looked at Guifeng and Hu Zhan. It's okay, Brother Gu, Brother Hu Zhan. I'll go with you. It won't be dangerous. Besides, everyone will protect me. Is that so? Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows and looked at the mercenaries not far away. Yes, yes. Everyone looked at Guifeng and Hu Zhan as if they were going to eat them. How could they dare to stay any longer? After nodding his head, he ran out like a wisp of smoke. Not to mention anything else, they still had to explain the mission to the people in the square. The Tianfeng Chu clan's conditions were so generous. Coupled with the allure of the resources in the high-class continent, everyone was very satisfied with this mission. The only downside was that they had involved Luo Qingtong this time, causing her to have to go on a mission with them. But weren't Guifeng and the rest also involved in this matter? It wasn't like they were the only ones speaking up for Luo Qingtong. The two of them had spoken up as well. Moreover, if Guifeng hadn't provoked them first and forced them to speak, they wouldn't have stood up at that time. The group of people ran away like a wisp of smoke. Even the leader of the Black Iron mercenary group slowly led his men away. He was waiting to see how unlucky Luo Xiaoqi would be after going to that abandoned continent with them. She might not even survive the first day. Humph, fight with him. The leader of the Black Iron mercenary group was in a good mood. He didn't expect that Luo Qingtong would have such benefits after being invited by those mercenary groups. Not only did he show his face in front of old Fu, but he also talked to him. And Luo Qingtong was forced to go to that abandoned continent. He didn't have to do it himself. The other party might not be able to come out alive. It was really refreshing. The leader of the Black Iron mercenary group leisurely walked away. Before he left, he glanced at Luo Qingtong, Guifeng, and the others proudly. Hu Zhan was so angry that his teeth itched. He almost beat him up, but was stopped by Luo Qingtong. Big brother Hu Zhan, don't mind them. Let's go back. I have something good to show you. Luo Qingtong thought for a long time. This time, with her strength and her blood eyes, she might not have an accident on the abandoned continent. Chapter 2451. She originally planned to write down the immortal secret manuals in her mind after leaving Mercenary City and give some to Hu Zhan and the others for them to cultivate. At that time, when their foundation was sufficient, Hu Zhan and the others' strength would also be greatly improved. After all, Hu Zhan and the others only lacked a little bit of foundation and resources compared to the children of those big families. And among them, foundation was the most important. Hu Zhan and the others could earn resources by themselves. With foundation, what resources couldn't they want to improve their strength? But without foundation, Hu Zhan and the others couldn't go to other places to get those cultivation methods and secret manuals. Ordinary cultivation methods and secret manuals, as long as they were good, were the treasures of the big families and sections. If Hu Zhan and the others didn't join those sects and families, they wouldn't be able to get them at all. Even if they were lucky enough to get them, once they revealed it after cultivating and were found out by others, it would be a dead end. But the cultivation methods and secret manuals that Luo Qingtong taught them were different. They were engraved by her from those cultivation sects on Earth. In this different world, they were unique and weren't afraid of being found out at all. During this period of time, Hu Zhan, Guifeng, and the others took good care of her. Logically speaking, Luo Qingtong couldn't just watch them make a move. What's more, these cultivation methods and secret manuals were the reward she wanted to repay them from the beginning. Luo Qingtong thought and immediately brought Hu Zhan and Guifeng back to the Red Flame mercenary group's encampment. The latter and the others were confused for a while. Ouyang Yingyu and the others were still waiting for news in the square outside. Seeing a group of high-ranking mercenary groups come out in high spirits, they thought they had encountered such a good thing. But looking at Hu Zhan and Guifeng's sad expressions, they felt that something was wrong. What's going on? Are you all crying at a funeral? Ouyang Yingyu looked at Hu Zhan and Guifeng with a strange expression. Hu Zhan was fine, this guy was born with a screw loose in his head. But what was going on with Guifeng? Their leader had always been the most calm. Everyone stared at the two of them. Hu Zhan looked at them and was about to speak. On the other side, Luo Qingtong's voice sounded in their ears. Brother Gu, this is for you. After Luo Qingtong returned to the Red Flame mercenary group's encampment, she started to spread out the rice paper and started to write. Her background was too complicated, and it wasn't convenient for her to tell Guifeng and the others, so she directly wrote down the cultivation techniques and secret manuals that she had prepared for them. Her blood-red pupils spun rapidly. Luo Qingtong copied all the mysterious methods and matters of cultivation in those secret manuals on white paper. In just a short while, there were several cultivation methods, secret manuals, and martial skills piled up beside her. Luo Qingtong handed these cultivation methods and martial skills to Guifeng and the others. The latter and the others were still blaming themselves. Just as he was about to ask her what it was, he suddenly froze. This is? Guifeng's voice trembled. He looked at the books that Luo Qingtong had just written, and there was still ink on the paper. His heart was filled with indescribable shock and excitement. Little Seven, we are sorry. This is. Hu Zhan also came over at this time, wanting to apologize to Luo Qingtong. However, when he came in front of Guifeng, his eyes widened in an instant. Chapter 2452. Oh my God. He pinched his thigh fiercely, and after a heart-wrenching pain for a while, he finally believed that everything in front of him was not a dream, but real. Oh my God. These martial arts manuals are all real? Hu Zhan looked at the martial arts manuals handed over by Luo Qingtong and laughed dryly. He almost wanted to ask Luo Qingtong if she wrote them casually for fun. However, before he could say anything, he slapped himself and woke himself up. What the hell was she writing casually? If she hadn't already memorized them by heart, even if she flew, she wouldn't have been able to recite all these martial arts manuals. The only explanation was that these martial arts manuals were all real. Moreover, Luo Qingtong knew how to use them all. Therefore, she was able to write them down from memory for them. Golden Sword Chop. World Return to One Technique. Mandarin Duck Twin Sword. No Heart and No Nonsense Technique. One by one, the names of the martial arts manuals jumped into Hu Zhan's eyes. All of them were martial arts manuals and names that he had never heard of before. Moreover, the cultivation levels indicated on these martial arts manuals were all above the venerable realm. There were even some in the human martial arts realm and the earth martial arts realm. Naturally, this was automatically calculated by Luo Qingtong according to the cultivation levels in this strange world. After all, the immortal cultivation manuals on Earth and the cultivation system in this strange world were completely different. Luo Qingtong carefully estimated the power and effect of those martial arts manuals and marked them with their respective cultivation levels. She only took out 2 martial arts manuals of the Earth martial arts realm. With Hu Zhan and Guifeng's current strength, the first to enter the Earth martial arts realm would definitely be the 2 of them. Under such circumstances, 2 martial arts manuals were enough. Too many would be useless. Moreover, in the future, if the people of the Red Flame mercenary group didn't change their original intentions, Luo Qingtong would naturally give them more benefits. In this life, she wasn't afraid of giving benefits to others. But she was afraid of giving benefits to the wrong people. Therefore, no matter what Luo Qingtong did, she would always leave some leeway. Guifeng, Hu Zhan, and the others were loyal to her, so she naturally wouldn't be stingy with good things. In this world, if you want something, you have to exchange it with something. If you don't have anything, you can only use your heart and feelings. After all, it was impossible for him to not pay a price. They were both human beings for the first time. Why should she give whatever she had to the other party unconditionally? Sorry, but if she didn't like people, then she wouldn't give it to them. Hu Zhan's shocked attitude attracted the curiosity of Ouyang Yingyu and the others. The latter stood up and walked over. What are you two doing? With all this commotion, people who don't know would think that you guys picked it up. Where are the treasures? Ouyang Yingyu's words were stuck in her mouth, but it was too late to say them out loud. She looked at the stack of secret manuals that Luo Qingtong took out in front of her in shock. She was so shocked that her jaw almost dropped. Wait, I think I'm dreaming. Ouyang Yingyu raised her hand and covered her forehead and eyes in front of everyone's puzzled eyes. About 2 seconds later, ah! A sharp, ear-piercing and shocking female voice resounded in the hall. Quick, quick, quick! Quickly cover my mouth. Ouyang Yingyu was going crazy. It's true, it's true. Damn! In front of Luo Qingtong, there really was a pile of secret manuals and martial arts manuals. Chapter 2453. Especially the leader, who was usually such a quiet and solemn person. She was so shocked that her mouth couldn't close. How long had it been like this? And that bastard, Hu Zhan, the floor under his feet was about to collapse. Couldn't he use a little less strength? Asking someone to fix it costs money. As Ouyang Yingyu thought about it, she screamed and asked the people around her to quickly cover her mouth. Her screams couldn't be stopped. When Ouyang Yingyu screamed, the other members of the Red Flame mercenary group were all shocked and gathered around. Then, each of them had a look of excitement, shock, and disbelief. Oh my God! Martial arts. Secret manuals. Martial arts. They only saw it from afar at the auction and could only buy the lowest quality goods at the highest price, but it appeared in front of them. The group of people from the Red Flame mercenary group were shocked to the extreme, their faces all flushed red. Quick! Close the door of the hall first. Gui Feng was the first to come back to his senses, and then he said to the two members of the Red Flame mercenary group who were closest to him. The two of them seemed to have woken up from a dream, and immediately ran to the door and slammed it shut. Oh my God! Everyone's heart was beating so fast that it was about to jump out. It was really 2F** king exciting. This was definitely the most exciting and shocking day they had ever experienced. Little 7. Gui Feng raised his hand and pressed on Luo Qingtong's shoulder, pushing her to sit on the stool next to the table. His heart was full of excitement, and the fingers that pressed on Luo Qingtong were faintly trembling. Little 7. He took a deep breath and tried to stabilize his voice, and said to Luo Qingtong, "These martial arts and secret manuals, where did you get them? He took a deep breath and said, "Are you a young master who ran out from some big family to gain experience? These martial arts and secret manuals are all in your family?" Ah. Luo Qingtong was stunned when she heard his words. When she took out these martial arts and secret manuals, she knew that Gui Feng and the others would guess her identity. She was also wondering if she should tell them the truth. But after thinking about it, she decided not to. She was in danger now, and it would be fine if Gui Feng and the others didn't know, but if they knew, it might harm them. Therefore, Luo Qingtong was thinking about how to tell them. But who would have thought that before she could say anything, Gui Feng had already found an identity and reason for her. A young master from a big family? Luo Qingtong's lips twitched. For a moment, she didn't know how to answer them. Forget it, they've misunderstood. Forget it then. As Luo Qingtong thought of this, she stopped talking. And Gui Feng and the others, Luo's TTS. God, T. You look so smart, but you don't seem to know anything about the outside world. Of course she didn't know. Luo Qingtong complained in her heart. She was suddenly sent to Tianfeng region, and she was very curious about everything in this region, okay? As for those abilities, she couldn't possibly not reveal anything, right? Otherwise, how could she earn money to gather information? Chapter 2454. The latter was still excitedly asking her, "Hey, Shao-Chi, which family are you from? There's no super family with the surname Luo in this Tianfeng domain." Hu Zhan's idea was very simple. Luo Qingtong was able to take out these secret manuals, in addition to her ability and shrewdness. The young man's family must be extraordinary. But in this Tianfeng domain, he didn't seem to have heard of such a family. Luo Qingtong's expression froze. Just as she was thinking about how to cover up this lie, Yang Yingyu scolded Hu Zhan, "Aren't you annoying? Shao-Chi originally escaped from her family. Who knows how her dog family treats her? Maybe not at all. Shao-Chi must have changed her surname. Or she doesn't want to talk about that family at all. Don't mention it." Gui Feng also had this intention, but with his identity, he couldn't say anything to Hu Zhan. Yang Yingyu's words made him feel a lot better. That's right. He looked at Luo Qingtong softly and said, "If Shao-Chi doesn't want to say it, then forget it. We won't force you. It's just that," he looked at the secret manuals in his hand and said in a deep voice, "We can't accept these secret manuals. Shao-Chi, are these your family's treasures? You'd better take them all back. Otherwise, when you're discovered in the future, you'll suffer." Gui Feng was very touched by Luo Qingtong's action of taking out these secret manuals for them. The young man's temperament was pure and sincere. He was not only guarded against others, but also extremely pure and kind. This kind of secret manual was actually given to them to use. But because of this, Gui Feng and the others couldn't accept his secret manuals. Otherwise, once they were discovered, they could escape. But what about Luo Qingtong? If she was caught and brought back to the family, what kind of punishment would she receive? Guifeng didn't dare to imagine. Historically, people who betrayed their family didn't have a good ending. Therefore, even if Guifeng and the others wanted these secret manuals, they couldn't accept them. Otherwise, he would be harming Luo Qingtong. As soon as Guifeng's words left his mouth, Ouyang Hu Zhan, and the others seemed to have thought of the same thing. The light in their eyes dimmed, and they immediately restrained the joyous and shocked expressions on their faces. They hurriedly said, "That's right. Little Seven, take back all these cultivation methods and manuals. We can't accept it." When everyone spoke, even Hu Zhan hurriedly put back the secret manual in his hand. He pushed it in front of Luo Qingtong and urged, "That's right, Little Seven, quickly take this thing back." Luo Qingtong looked at them and her heart felt even more at ease. She had not misjudged him. Even when these secret manuals were delivered to them, they could resist the urge to take them. It could be seen that he really cared about her and was genuinely concerned about her safety. Luo Qingtong thought and suddenly smiled, "Big brother Gu, big brother Hu Zhan, big sister Yu, you don't have to worry. I obtained all of these secret manuals by accident. They don't belong to any family or family. You can rest assured. Nothing will happen. My family members also don't know." At this point, Luo Qingtong's lips twitched slightly. She thought of the dog family that Hu Zhan had just mentioned. The expression on her face was simply indescribable. Chapter 2455. As Luo Qingtong thought of this, she suddenly smiled. When Hu Zhan and the others heard her words, they were stunned. Their eyes, which had dimmed down, suddenly lit up. "Really?" Hu Zhan, the uncouth man, jumped up immediately. He grabbed Luo Qingtong with an excited expression and shook her fiercely. "Little Seven, you can't lie to me. No, I swear to the heavens that this secret cultivation method has nothing to do with any of the sects or families here." Luo Qingtong's voice was sly, and she deliberately made some changes to the word "here." Originally, these secret cultivation method books were not from this world. She was not wrong in saying so. Hu Zhan, Ouyang Yu, and the others heard this and immediately jumped up in joy. Guifeng also had a smile on his face. Luo Qingtong looked at them and quickly said, "But big brother Gu, if you get this secret cultivation method book, you must not tell others where it came from. If others ask, just say that you got it by luck." When Luo Qingtong said this, Hu Zhan and the others immediately nodded and said, "Don't worry, Little Seven, we know what to say." Everyone naturally knew that Luo Qingtong wanted to hide her identity. They thought that Luo Qingtong did not want to be caught by the family, so she said this. But only Luo Qingtong knew that this was to protect their safety. Not revealing the origin of these cultivation methods and secret manuals would be of great benefit to both of them. Otherwise, it was hard to say when someone would deliberately come to investigate her. Especially those black-clothed men. Speaking of those people, Luo Qingtong also thought of the strange man who patted her chest that night. Who was that person? Was he one of those black-clothed men? While Luo Qingtong was thinking in her heart, in another part of Mercenary City, Yu Mingxian, who had changed into another set of clothes and was covered in a black cloak, looked coldly at the black-clothed man kneeling in front of him. "Can't find out?" His voice was icy cold. The man who appeared outside Luo Qingtong's room that day was very mysterious. It seemed that he was there for Luo Xiaoqi's identity. He didn't know what he was trying to confirm. Could it be that someone else had already found out about Chen Meng and the things he knew behind the scenes? However, if that was the case, it was impossible for foster father to not mention it to him. After all, they still had to rely on him to find out who was behind Chen Meng. As Yu Mingxian thought of this, her eyes narrowed. "Please forgive me, master. That person's strength is very high. After we followed him, we all lost him." That night, Yi Qianxian came to investigate Luo Qingtong's identity. When he left, Yu Mingxian had her people follow him. he didn't expect that he couldn't find any trace of the other party. Furthermore, the other party's strength was so strong that he was able to silently shake off the people around him. Yu Mingxian frowned. At this moment, the black-clothed man gathered his courage and said, "Master, there is a letter from the Central Inscription Association urging you to go back quickly." You see, after Yu Mingxian found out Luo Qingtong's identity, he didn't report it. Instead, he killed all the people around him who had objections to him. Now the Central Inscription Association's people had become suspicious and were urging him to go back. After all, he had already lost the person. Why would Yu Mingxian stay outside? Yu Mingxian naturally knew the true meaning of the Central Inscription Association's urging. Chapter 2456. Oh, you're really afraid that I'll find out what's hidden behind it? Yu Mingxian sneered, his face full of mockery. He had only agreed to hunt down Chen Meng on a whim. He didn't expect his foster father to be so nervous. When he realized that he couldn't catch him, he immediately called him back. Yu Mingxian suspected that his previous guess was right. In fact, when he was in Tianfeng Inscription City, he had the chance to capture Chen Meng alive. But at that time, he had doubts in his heart. In addition, he was interested in Luo Qingtong, so he let it go. He didn't expect the young man named Xie Qi to be so powerful that he could kill Chen Meng directly and escape from his hands. Now that he finally gained a little trust from Xie Qi, how could he leave at this time? But he couldn't ignore the urging of the Central Inscription Association. If they were really suspicious and sent people to investigate, everything he did and the young man named Xie Qi would be exposed. If possible, Yu Mingxian didn't want Luo Qingtong to be discovered by the Central Inscription Association. The secret of the inscription of God on her body could only be his. Find something for the Central Inscription Association to do. His voice was casual, and his fingers tapped on the table. The matter of the Immortal Slayer Palace hasn't been solved yet, right? It's said that my foster father has been tracking down the remnants of the Immortal Slayer Palace. It's time for them to show up. You guys go and arrange this. Yes. The group of men in black immediately bowed their heads and answered. Some people wanted to say something, but when they saw Yu Mingxian's eyes, they immediately trembled and lowered their heads, not daring to speak again. Only one man in black, after receiving Yu Mingxian's order, asked in a low voice, "Master, this matter can only be put on hold for a while. When are you going to go back?" The Central Inscription Association was not easy to fool. Even with the matter of the Immortal Slayer Palace outside, there was no way to fool the Central Inscription Association for too long. If the master didn't go back, sooner or later they would be suspicious. Well, after a while. Yu Mingxian's face was indifferent. He thought of the scene when he stood in front of Luo Qingtong. He had almost won the other party's trust. At that time, he would be able to find a way to ask about the god's inscription. However, this matter could not be rushed. Of course, if he still couldn't gain the other party's complete trust, then he could only resort to extreme measures. No matter what, he had to get the news of the god's inscription. A cold light flashed in Yu Mingxian's eyes. Meanwhile, on the other side of Mercenary City, where Yi Qianxian and the others were staying, Bei Qing, Feng Yu, and the others had also found out the purpose of the Tianfeng Chu family's visit. Tian Luo grass? Yi Qianxian looked at them. Yes, master. It's the Tian Luo grass. As Feng Yu spoke, there was excitement in her eyes. Master, the appearance of Tian Luo grass is very rare. Your meridians are severely damaged now. It's even worse than when you met the evil doctor. You can't use your full strength anymore. The existence of Tian Luo grass can ease the injury of your meridians, so that your meridians will not continue to deteriorate. Master, the Tianfeng Chu family is now gathering mercenaries. Before they get the Tian Luo grass, they will seal off Mercenary City, saying that they are investigating something. Chapter 2457. Feng Yu's words sounded a little cautious. Because Yi Qianxian used to hate people mentioning these things. His heavenly pulsed body was destined to be incurable. He would die at the age of 28. Even if his life was temporarily extended, he would not exceed 30. This was the fate of generations of the heavenly pulse body, and so was he. Therefore, even if Yi Qianxian knew that there were many ways to slow down the deterioration of his meridians, he was too lazy to try them. After all, those things could only treat the symptoms but not the root cause. If he could not completely solve the problem of the heavenly pulse body, even if there were many ways to extend his life and slow down the deterioration of his meridians, what was the point of Yi Qianxian? He was destined to die. What difference did it make if he died sooner or later? However, Luo Qingtong's appearance changed everything. Yi Qianxian's meridians were strengthened. Therefore, he was able to fight with all his strength this time. He broke through his defense and left Tiandu, angering the other party. However, because of this battle, Yi Qianxian's meridians, which had been repaired and strengthened by Luo Qingtong, fell again. Now, they were not even 5% strong. They were even deteriorating and falling. Fortunately, after Elder Yu returned to Miracle Medical Valley, he gained some inspiration from Luo Qingtong and made some progress. He developed a new medicinal liquid and managed to stabilize Yi Qianren's broken meridians. Otherwise, Yi Qianxian might not even be able to stand here. Therefore, Feng Yu persuaded Yi Qianxian to get the Tian Luo grass. After all, it contained the power of heaven and earth and was nourished by the great Tao. It was too rare. Master was not willing to waste time looking for the evil doctor to get those things. Bei Qing and Feng Yu were also very worried. Now that they finally got an opportunity and it was right in front of them, they naturally did not want to let it go. Master, do you agree? It won't delay the search for the evil doctor anyway. Moreover, the Tianfeng Chu family has made such a big fuss. If the evil doctor is really in the Tianfeng domain, he might have gotten the news from other places and joined them. As soon as Feng Yu said this, Yi Qianxian's eyes flickered. He looked at Feng Yu. What the latter said was not impossible. That woman was the most cunning and cunning. Although the Tianfeng Chu family kept their secrets well, that woman could even deceive him. She had deceived him more than once. So what if she dug out this little secret? All right. Yi Qianxian nodded. You guys go and make the arrangements. We will form a mercenary group and go over. Yi Qianxian did not intend to join any mercenary group. After all, he did not like to be bound by others. Moreover, his identity was too sensitive. If he joined other mercenary groups, it was inevitable that his identity would be investigated. At that time, it would easily arouse the suspicions of others. Yes. Bei Qing, Feng Yu, and the others were wild with joy at Yi Qianxian's words. They originally thought that they would need more time to convince Yi Qianxian. They did not expect him to agree so quickly. Sure enough, no matter what it was, as long as they brought up the evil doctor, everything would be right. As long as it had something to do with the evil doctor, there was nothing that Master would not agree to. As the group thought this, they immediately went to make the preparations. In case Yi Qianxian changed his mind later. Among them, Bei Qing ran the fastest. He had been holding it in for a long time. When they arrived at the high-level abandoned continent that the Tianfeng Chu family had mentioned, he could be said to be liberated. However, in order not to attract the attention of others, their strength and cultivation were all sealed. They only lifted a little to adapt to the level of strength and cultivation in the Tianfeng domain. Otherwise, he would feel even better. But it did not matter. It was good to have a fight. The group ran quickly. Yi Qianxian stood outside the window and looked at the scene in Mercenary City with deep eyes. You're tuning into the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.